in the UK with the Prince's Trust, and when you went to Los Angeles and worked in sort of, as you say, into Compton, Inglewood, and South Central, and some of the Crips gangs, the worst gangs out there. What is it, do you think, that uniquely enables cricket to have that capacity?
Well, cricket will teach you how to work in pairs. It'll teach you how to understand team strategy. It'll improve maths. It'll teach. In life, lots of people look, but not many people see. With sport, or particularly cricket, it's very visual, and it's easy. If you're smart, you can teach people a lot just by saying, watch this, watch that. It makes people more observant. Cricket has so many, there's so much more to it than bat and ball. It teaches people patience. I think the key, if you talk about community activities and you talk about people who, in this day...
Welcome back to Guerrilla Cricket's coverage of England's 2019/2020 tour of South Africa. You join us just after tea on day 3 of the second test from the glorious Newlands in Cape Town. South Africa, of course, won the first test and lead the series 1-0, but England are having a much better time of it under the shadow of Table Mountain. They lead in the second innings by 155 with still 8 wickets remaining. They made 269 in their first innings, with Ollie Pope top scoring with 61 not out. Yes, it was. And bowled South Africa out for 223, sparking a huge collapse from a position of 191 for 4. James Anderson taking his 28th Test 5 for an England Test record for James Anderson. And at tea, they are 109 for 2. The men out. Zach Crawley caught behind by Quinton de Kock off the bowling of Kagiso Rabada for 25, and not too long before tea, Joe Denley trying to hook Heinrich Nokia, being well caught by Dwayne Pretorius at long leg for 31. Dom Sibley is 44 not out, his highest test score to date, and Joe Root, the England captain, is 7 not out. I'm Knuckle Mpande, taking you through the first half an hour on Ball by Ball. I'm joined to my right by Dr. Katie Scott,
hello.
Playing the jingles, and to my left, reading your Facebook and Twitter and YouTube messages, Tony Bishop.
Hello again.
We should just try and see if we can liven the crowd up a little bit. We're sending somebody out with pom-poms and a flamethrower.
In the meantime, I will remind you who is going to be coming out to bat. It is these gentlemen.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pick, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
And at the other end...
Efficient batting. He made huge runs, the rumour spread by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley. Dominic Sibley.
Yes, indeed, Dominic Sibley closing in on his maiden Test 50, and this his 5th game. He's on 44 of 130 balls, 7 fours in that, a little bit more evenly split offside and leg side. He's looked relatively calm. Joe Root a little bit more sprightly, a couple of attempted reverse sweeps and switch hits of Kishan Maharaj, who bowled, I think, unchanged from the Kelvin Grove end during that second session. One would imagine he can't literally bowl from that end all day.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I think he started to look a bit tired towards the end of it, but that might just have been my imagination because I'd been watching him bowl from that end for so long. The South Africans are in a huddle, getting all their tactics ready. Quinton de Kock left out and trying to worm his way in underneath his colleague's arms.
He's got Milan to one side, Rabada to the other. Maharaj, he conspicuously at one point switched his line of attack, didn't he, from relentlessly attacking leg slump in a sort of a traditional leg spinner's approach, even though he's a left-arm orthodox. But then he started to attack off-stump more, and he looked more potent when he was doing that, because when he was attacking leg stump, he was just all too easy for Denley and Sibley just to put a big pad forward and just
I mean, there is rough outside the right-hander's leg stump when he was bowling round the wicket to the right-hander, but as you say, it takes so many modes of dismissal out of the game, and it works, I think, when if England had been trying to score quickly, but they really weren't particularly. I think we're quite happy to just block out what we did. We have seen him getting turned off the main part of the pitch, as you say. Joe Root will resume on 7 not out, and he'll be facing up to... Who will he be facing up to from the Weinberg end? All will be revealed shortly. It is South Africa's premier fast bowler.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killing this bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name? Tell me, what's his name? KC.
Very fired up Kaisa Rabada was in the first part of the afternoon session. Had a bit of an interesting battle with Zach Crawley and got into a bit of a bouncer barrage mode, and then had some words, and then was very, very visibly animated when he eventually got the England Open. A short ball to the England captain, who pulls this away very nicely, but out to Rassie van der Dussen, who is stationed at the deep square leg boundary. They come through for a single. England underway after tea, 110 for 2.
Also underway after tea are many who have joined us on Crick Tracker. Yadaro Rubinson Alanga says oof. Gulshan says hi. Raja Atif Khalil says hello.
Hello.
Hello to all of you.
Abil Abhishek says hello. M. Tahir Jan says great. Robert Stocker says hi.
Hi.
Hello, Robert. And MD Samarat Matuba says hi, everybody.
Yay.
Oh, hi back.
Hello to everybody. Indeed, of course, there's a game in India that's just not too far away from starting. India and Sri Lanka in a T20 international series. Rabada into Dominic Sibley, bowls short. Sibley, as he's done throughout the innings, stands up tall and blocks this comfortably back to the bowler. There is no run. He's done well to ride these short balls and play at the top of the bounce. But I say they are underway seemingly underway in India. While they have had the toss, and India have elected to field, and we have the teams, it's now raining.
Oh no. Where is it? What's the ground?
Guwahati, which is in Assam, up in northeast India.
Ah, okay.
Rabada bowls this outside off stump, trying to tempt Dominic Sibley into a drive. Dominic Sibley is not tempted into a drive. Through low to Quinton de Kock it goes. There is no run.
Well, let's look on a marginally positive side there, Knuckle. If you were going to go and change channels and listen to that, you now don't need to. You can stay with us.
Well, indeed, yeah.
There you go.
Shikhar Dhawan and Jasprit Bumrah are back from injury for India. The main bit of personnel news from Guwahati. In comes Kagiso Rabada back with the action in Cape Town, and Sibley marginally discomforted by that as it bounces a little bit and takes the inside part of the bat. He rips the bottom glove away from the bat and shakes it a little. The ball drops down into the leg side. There is no run.
Zayab. Oh, sorry, Katie, up to you.
I was just going to say, talking of raining, it looks like it's got a bit duller in Cape Town.
It's been cloudy.
The tablecloth has been on the mountain all day.
It looks from the pictures, and obviously we're not there, so we can't say kind of how it feels, but it looks just a little bit kind of potentially stormier, maybe. I don't know what the forecast is.
Rassie van der Dussen has gone in as the on Hayden, very close to that cut strip on the leg side. This is outside off stump and punched to Dean Elgar at cover. There is no run. The last I saw, the percentage chance of rain was 25% for today in Cape Town. I mean, it's been down at sort of single figures through most of the test match.
Zayab Aslam is with us, saying, give me a shout out. So hi.
Hi, Zayab.
You are shouted.
I just looked it up. It's 30% chance of rain now, but then back down to 10% in an hour. So if we're going to get any rain, it'll probably be now, and it'll clear up pretty quickly. In
comes Rabada, slipping a gully and that on Hayden, back of a length, and Sibley stands up tall and punches into the leg side. Pieter Malan, relieved of short leg or silly point duty field at mid-wicket. There is no run. I think that was a maiden for Rabada to Dominic Sibley. He's on 44, route on 8, England 110 for 2.
Robert Harmon is following on the conversation about number of players under 23. England have 4 players under 23. When was the last time this happened? Is there a good website or app for this kind of stat? And that was from Fuku Life. And I've managed to lose it completely, which is rather poor. I'll come back to it in a moment. Oh yes, there we go. And Robert's reply was Stats Guru on Crick Info can do this with a bit of digging, I think, though I need to double check. It's never happened before.
I I'd be surprised if it's the only time, but obviously it doesn't happen very often. No, it does look as though not only will the spinner not be fed, he will not be allowed to stop working. Continuing from the Kelvin Grove end, it's this man.
There's a bowler there from South Africa.
In fact, he's been bowling from that end since before lunch. Ooh. Oh, plenty happening. Massive turn out of the rough from Keshav Maharaj. Root, as he tends to do, does fiddle at it outside off stump, and it just bounces short of Faf du Plessis diving to his right at slip turn and bounce and took a little out of the pitch. Not really sure what Root was trying to do following it with his hands like that. It wasn't a cut shot or any sort of shot, really. In the end, there is no catch and no run. That's tossed way up outside leg stump. Root tries to sweep very fine, and there's almost bowled round his legs. It turns sharply and bounces, and Quinton de Kock, rather blindsided, is hit somewhere on the body. There is no run. We've got just the one slip in place. There's a very spread field, actually. We've got the slip, the cover, the mid-wicket, and the square leg, and the mid-on part way back to the boundary. Everyone else is back, and Root looking rather uncomfortable with that over the wicket into the leg stump rough line. Defends sort of back to the bowler. There is no run.
Well, they did have a forward short leg, and at one point a leg slip as well, didn't they? They seem to have backed away from that for Maharaj for now.
Yeah, it's a very in-out field. Oof, that does all sorts, and what it mostly does is keep very, very low. It was basically a Yorker about a foot outside leg stump. Root tries to sweep and actually did get something on that. I thought that was buys, but he got a very fine bottom part of the bat on it, and it rolled past Quinton de Kock. Too fast for him to do anything about it. 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just missed the helmet.
Root is not looking nearly as happy facing this kind of bowling as Denley did before tea.
Certainly not. That's better from Root, or at least more assured. He stretches forward and pads it away into the leg side. There is no run. Yes, there is an antsiness to Joe Root so far today. Kiso Rabada stationed at the sort of third man partway back to the boundary. Wants a sort of fly gully position, I guess, to cut off the reverse sweep. That's tossed up outside leg stump and padded away by Root into the leg side. There is no run. The lead, by the way, with that boundary is up to 160. And that is the end of the over. England 114 for 2, leading by 160.
Indeed it is. Hello to Suraj Kumar. And our previous friend, who we introduced a little while ago, Zaryab Aslam, is going to record us giving him a shout out. So I'm going to count him in. So I hope you're listening, Zaryab. 3, 2, 1, and hello indeed to Zaryab Aslam.
Hello.
I mean, we are recording ourselves, so.
Yeah, it will be. Yes, you can get it on our archive on our website.
And indeed,
soon after play, and on Facebook. So you are now immortalised
by many medium, but always good to back up your data. 114. Well, so it looks a little bit brighter over the non-table side of Cape Town, over the scoreboard out there. Kisa Rabada is going to continue from the Weinberg end. Slip gully on Hayden. He's in. Right over the wicket to Dom Sibley, who stands up tall and punches this very nicely. Met it right at the top of the bounce, and it races away over that outfield, out towards the Table Mountain. 4 runs to Dom Sibley.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Lovely shot by Dom Sibley. Must be feeling very pleased with himself if he's scoring boundaries off KG Rabada through the offside, and that was a lovely shot.
Cape Town really is a gorgeous ground, isn't it? It's one of those ones, I mean, it's on everyone's bucket list, but I think it really lives up to its promise, having visited in person.
Short ball, that's an absolute ripper from KG Rabada. Not that short, but it climbed viciously, and Sibley did really well, ducking bat and hands away from the line of the ball and whipping the head back so that he didn't get clunked on said head. Through to the keeper it goes. There is no run. That was an angry delivery from Rahisa Rabada. Cross seam, I think, as well. Ooh, that hurt Quinton de Kock.
Bounce.
In comes Rahisa Rabada, full outside off stump. That's very nicely played by Dom Sibley. Just walked across to off stump and defended solidly on the bounce to Rossi van der Dussen at the on Hayden position. There is no run.
Kerry Narden says, England looking good now. Time to prep for the soul-destroying capitulation that will certainly come. Smoke 'em if you got 'em, and sit back and enjoy the lemming-like debacle. Oh, well, we'd hope you were wrong from an England supporter
It could
perspective.
be, again, quite interesting, actually, if England collapse from here and end up setting South Africa 210 or something. Kahisa Rabada in, outside off stump. Sibley stands up tall and punches into the offside. Keshav Maharaj does well as that skipped up off the turf at backward point, and there is no run. Sibley onto 48 with that boundary off a couple of balls ago. Too shy of his maiden Test 50.
How old is Dom Sibley?
24.
Okay, so he's not one of the ones who's under 23. He definitely doesn't look under 23, does he?
No, I mean, I think he looked relatively old when he was a teenager when he broke through at Surrey.
Unlike Sam Curran, who will forever look like he's 12.
Yes, indeed. Rabada in, short ball, and that's very nicely played by Dom Sibley. Stands up tall and just lets it come onto him and runs it down to the square of backward point. Maharaj chases this back to the boundary. They will come through for 2, and Dominic Sibley goes to his first Test 50.
50 runs, your 50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, your 50 runs. The job is only just begun.
50 off 140 balls, 8 fours in that time. Good, disciplined, solid stuff from Dom Sibley, who is very much a player in that ilk. England 120 for 2, lead by 166. In comes Kahisa Rabada, short ball, and Sibley ducks down on both knees, or squats down on both knees and lets it fly through to Quinton de Kock. There is no run, end of the over.
Back to that point about number of players under 24. Robert Harmon says, never before in tests. In ODIs twice in 2011. Ireland had 5 under-23s and India in Mumbai in T20Is last year on the 5th of November. Banton, Brown, Curran and Mahmood.
Oh, that would have been one of the New Zealand T20s, wouldn't it? That's interesting. This is the first time it's happened in Test cricket.
Indeed. Stuart Chilmaid says Darren Stevens because he has only played... Oh, I'd have to look at what the question was.
Oh, that was...
favourite county player.
County player of the decade.
Of course it was. It's reply to Annie. For Darren Stevens because he has only played county cricket, great player and a really nice bloke as well.
I'm glad to hear it.
I'd like to give out a shout out for county cricket of the decade after this ball.
Switch hit from Joe Root from way outside leg stump. Perfectly safe shot, I guess, when it's full enough, and that was full enough. Root practices the shot as at the non-striker's end because he gets the single out to Kahisa Rabada coming round to deep point.
It would be remiss of me not to mention Paul Collingwood, who retired from Test cricket 9 years ago and has been playing county cricket pretty much solidly ever since. He's sadly retired now, but he's done pretty well this decade for Durham.
He has indeed. A couple of championship wins.
Yeah.
Now on the England coaching staff.
Yes, we just saw him, in fact, sitting in the England dressing room. So still, definitely still around and still active, even if not playing himself anymore.
One of the county cricketers I admire most is another Durham man, Chris Rushworth.
Oh, yes, he's been fantastic, yeah. Yeah, he's been really good. I mean, Durham have been quite lucky, although they've lost a lot of their players.
Stop press. Keshav Maharaj is round the wicket to the right-hander. Dom Sibley pushes this into the offside, and they come through very quickly for the single. Zubair Hamza couldn't come in quickly from cover, and they come through for the single. Sibley moves to 51.
Arthur Patricia of Arthurshire has sent us a picture of his roast dinner. Looking forward to the final session in the company of yourselves and the last roast dinner of Christmas. It looks like some interesting pigs in blankets. Are they vegetarian non-pigs in blankets? Let us know.
Maharaj back around the wicket, over the wicket rather, to Joe Root. So different lines of attack for Root and Sibley. Tossed up on leg stump, and Root pads away into the leg side. There is no run.
Lennox Lear says, I would tweet more, but I have been sucked in by the excellent roguelike old-school shooter magnificence that is Ziggurat. So I've been circle strafing whilst listening. Okay.
However you spend your Sunday is all well and good. Turned a little bit from Keshav Maharaj. Root has time to go on the back foot and jab it down into the offside. Again, a little bit jittery from Joe Root, but he is quite a sort of fidgety fellow.
1-2-2 for 2. All the 2s at the moment. Well,
some
not all the
some
twos.
of the 2s.
Lots of 2s. If it's 2-2-2 for 2, I think England will be very happy.
Yes, indeed. Keshav Maharaj, none for 40, and 4 balls bowled of his 17th over. Made that 5 balls of his 17th over. That was another attempted reverse sweep from Joe Root. Came off the bottom part of the bat into pad and rolled to Faf du Plessis at slip. And I just saw, by the way, they've got a man, I think, sort of man maybe on the 45. He was running across to third man as Root shaped for the stroke. So they're paying attention. He's opened out his stance now, Joe Root. Tries to sweep this from way outside leg stump. So when it's really far outside leg stump, he's trying to sweep. That's a good stop rather than take from Quinton de Kock, blindsided as he would have been by Joe Root. Quinton de Kock really is an excellent wicketkeeper, both up to the stumps and standing back. 2 runs off that over. England 122 for 2, lead by 168.
Yes, indeed. Let's have a look on Crick Tracker. I can't read that. Oh, yes, I can. Turko Tekir says, seems good. I think he means either the cricket or the commentary or life in general, but either way, I'm glad it is good. That's excellent. And Gary and Paddy Blower are in a conversation, it seems to be pretty much amongst themselves, over the merits and otherwise of TalkSport commentators. So we'll let them carry that on. Dr. Leonie Hicks says, County Cricketer of the Decade is a split decision in this house. Dr. Ian Hawk is a Kent fan, and so goes with D.I. Stevens. I'm going with Tim Bresnan. Oh, Tim Bresnan is not a bad shout.
Yeah, another former England, well, like Collingwood, a former England cricketer, a real stalwart of Yorkshire, got them out to all sorts of trouble. We do have a change at the Weinberg end. It's accurate seam bowling replacing fiery fast bowling.
Who I will find now.
Pretorius. Dwayne Pretorius.
Playing just his second test. He's been quite useful with the ball through his shortish test career so far. Good control and a little bit of movement. That one swings away a little bit from Dom Sibley, full delivery, and he pushes it to short cover, who's in position there on the offside. There is no run.
Arthur Shear says, why is the terminally underperforming, tactically inept Joe Root breaking out the switch hit when he's 13 for the fucking team? He actually says, not out, batting when there's no rush but wickets are at a premium.
Because there's a gap there. So you hit the ball where the fielders are not. I know what he's trying to do. Lovely on drive from Dom Sibley, but KG Rabada's set back a little bit at mid-on, kind of where the edge of the 30-yard circle would be in a one-day international, and there is no run.
I think Arthur Shear's point would be that there's more classically acceptable, less risky ways of exploiting that gap. He also, by the way, does confirm that they are indeed vegetarian non-pigs or vegetarian blankets.
Also, with the ball pitching so far outside of leg most of the time, it is a safer shot than you might think.
Slip in a gully and that short extra cover, and it's Rusty van der Dussen in there at short cover. Again, Dom Sibley drives this foolish wideish delivery straight to short cover. There is no run. A little bit of swing from Dwayne Pretorius. I wonder if it might be reverse. Yeah, you're not going to get LBW from that line. You're playing with the spin, and yeah, it's a matter of execution, I think, rather than shot selection.
I just had a look at CricViz, the WinViz, and they've got England at 81%, South Africa at 14% and 5% for the draw.
Pretorius in outside off stump, held back a little bit, nicely bowled by Pretorius, but Sibley plays this one with a measure of control, takes bottom hand off the bat, softens the hands, and it goes through slip and gully for 4. Hands on hips and knowing looks between Faf du Plessis at first slip and Dean Elgar at gully. It was an attempted off-cutter. Well, it was an off-cutter from Pretorius and bowled pretty well. So Sibley was reaching for it slightly, but managed to make the last-minute adjustment and save himself and pick up 4 in the process. Moves to 55. England 126 for 2, lead by 172. Slight delay as Faf makes an adjustment to the offside field, looking menacing rather in those thick black sunglasses. This one swings into Sibley, and he loves it when he can punch through mid-on, and he punches this one beautifully through wide mid-on for 4. Beautiful shot, a little bit over-pitched, not that straight, it was on off stump, but coming into him, and Sibley using that bottom hand to make sure that the ball missed short mid-wicket and raced away to the cover, but to the the wide mid-on boundary. What can Pretorius come back with, having gone for 2-4s in a row? He comes back with another cutter outside off stump, which is punched straightish and fielded by KG Rabada at mid-off. There is no run. 8 runs off the over, England 130 for 2.
Dr. Dan Diper has sent us, on the subject of Dominic Sibley, a lovely impression of Dominic Sibley and Quinton de Kock keeping, although the pose in which he's caught Sibley is a rather less common playing of an off-drive by the looks of it. So he must have caught him at not one of his more frequently used shots. Jeff Perkins, hello Jeff, says, while people may spend Sundays how they wish, spending it with guerrilla cricket has the advantage of being enjoyable and counting towards time spent heeding a bishop. So yes indeed, bless you Jeff, and all who sail in you.
The SS Perkins.
It's going well. It's going well for England. I know, as we frequently say, a collapse is always just around the next corner.
I think England have got to the point now where I wouldn't be really disappointed if there was a collapse.
I think you've got to consider time in the game and the fact that
Yeah.
the pitch, to me, whilst I wouldn't necessarily say it's dramatically levelling out, certainly doesn't seem to be holding too many demons.
Time spent at the wicket will do that. Sibley's been out there for 148 balls. Wow, that was very wide outside leg stump. Would have been a one day wide on either side of the wicket, I think. It was practically off the cut strip because Root went into the switch it very early. Maharaj threw it down the leg side and Root decided not to play any shot at it. Good take by Quinton de Kock. I keep praising his keeping, but I keep having reason to praise his keeping. He is superb. Keshav Maharaj in. Root again fakes for the switch it, then gets back into position and takes the single as Maharaj bowls it full on middle and leg. I think it might be wise for Joe Root to play Maharaj from the other end for a second.
What you mean, just to look and figure out what the ball's doing? Yeah, you were right. He definitely did get into that switch hitting position early. Maharaj saw him coming, or saw what he was doing, and speared it away down leg side. Didn't quite give umpire Paul Rifle a decision to make, but it was close-ish.
We're looking at the most 5-wicket hauls, and Anderson's on 28. Warren is up there in second on 37. Murali has 67 5-wicket hauls.
Outrageous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
People forget, I think, how good Murali was. An absolute genius. Obviously helped by the fact he was one of, by a distance, their biggest wicket-taking threat. I mean, he had Chaminda Vas at sort of the early to middle part of his career, and then Herath, I think, towards the end. But
definitely Herath as well. Yeah.
What a bowler he was, Murali. Pitched way outside leg stump, so I think Tony Bishop was the only person interested in that.
No, I wasn't interested in it.
LBW appeal. It turned sharply from out, but from way outside leg stump. Sibley knows exactly what he's doing.
It was partly the amount of turn that got me oohing.
Pads it away out to point. There is no run. Furrowed brow from Dom Sibley, who has a little play at this as it goes outside his leg stump. I'm not sure if he got bat on that in the end. Yes, he did. A little inside tickle, as it were, and they come through for the single. A short, fine leg comes around to field.
Dom
Sibley moves to 60.
Dom Sibley does seem to have a permanently furrowed brow. It is his main facial feature.
His features are quite scrunched in concentration.
He is I don't wish to be unkind to him anyway, but he has an older face.
He does.
A younger man with an older, if you had to age him, you might put him closer to 30, even though he's not.
I mean, that does bode well for him aging, because people who look older when they're younger tend not to age. They tend to age quite well.
No,
he might look quite good in his mid to late 30s.
You'd never guess I was only 27.
Wow. Same as Jimi Hendrix. Slipping a short extra cover as Maharaj goes over the wicket to Joe Root. Interesting that he's abandoned the round the wicket line to Joe Root, where Root was doing all sorts of bits and pieces, but maybe the experiment has served its purpose. Root strokes pleasantly out into the covers. Rossi van der Dussen falls on top of the ball at cover. There is no run. It's Faf Duplessis at first slip and Dean Elgar at short extra cover. Quite straight at short extra cover. Maharaj in past umpire Rifle. That ends up as a full toss, and Root takes it on the sweep and gets it out to Big Vernon Philander down at long leg. They come through for a single. I'm not really sure why Maharaj has got hands on head, because Root knew exactly what he was doing with that. He takes a single, moves to 15, England 133 for 2.
Yeah, I was struggling reading these. Tamir Malik says hello, so hello to you. Arthur Patricia says, at the risk of stealing the central joke of a popular cricket novelty account, does Root know that just blocking is an option?
It is an option, but so is taking runs when they are on offer, and they have been somewhat on offer. It's been slightly manufactured, but England are in a reasonable position, and I would question Root's execution at times, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing doing what he's trying to do. He is quite a fluent scorer, Joe Root, even without really trying.
Angus Fraser's reasonably well up there on that list. Look, just after Alec Bedser.
Most 5-wicket hauls for
5-wicket hauls.
Yeah, Anderson out on his own now with that 5 he took in the first innings here above Ian Botham. Considerably more matches for Anderson. SF Barnes, 24 5-wicket hauls in 27 matches.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
That's not bad.
Pretorius in from the Weinberg end full, and that's nicely driven by Joe Root. Nutmegs Dom Sibley at the non-striker's end, but fielded by Andresh Nortje, I think that is, at mid-on. Heavily bandaged on both arms. There is no run.
Did one of us just yawn out of interest at some point? Katie,
Might be
did you
me.
let a yawn go? Savi Ray says someone is feeling sleepy.
Oh, I've been awake since 3:30.
Well, this morning or this afternoon?
Baby
no.
training.
It hasn't even got to 3:30 this afternoon yet. No.
Pretorius in up to the crease and bowls outside off stump. A little bit of lift from the pitch of a not particularly quick delivery. Tennis ball bounce, and Root plays it at the top of his bounce. And then grins. I like to see Joe Root grinning when things go slightly amiss. There is no run.
No, I was really worried that I would miss my alarm and not wake up, so I ended up waking up ridiculously early and not being able to go back to sleep again. And then it turned out I didn't actually need my alarm because all the trains got cancelled.
I remember you saying that's good old Southwestern trains.
Yeah.
That was a little off cutter that dug into the wicket from Pretorius. He definitely ran his fingers over it, so he's essentially getting what Maharaj is getting, just slightly faster. We all have a change at the end of the over, which is 4 balls away. Pretorius in. That gully has moved into a sort of 3rd or 4th slip, and outside off stump is Pretorius, and the Root pushes to backward point. There is no run.
Southwestern trains, unless you send us £10,000 in the next 3 seconds, no you haven't, I'm going to say you're utterly shite.
Yeah, I've done a lot of train travel up and down the United Kingdom in the last few days, and I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, so it was always cross-country that I hated because they had really bad signal, so you couldn't listen to the cricket while you were on the train.
Pretorius in. The Root comes down the track. I wonder if this will prompt Quinton de Kock to come up to the stumps. Root defends to the man at the on Hayden. There is no run.
Arthur Patricia says, like Knuckle, I would question Root's execution, but if it's the only way to get him out the captaincy, I'm reluctantly in favour. That's a little bit harsh, but
here we go. Immediately, Quinton de Kock has recognised what Joe Root is trying to do and has come up to the stumps. He's come up to the stumps for Pretorius and for Werner Philander. He's such a good keeper that he can, basically, Quinton de Kock, despite the fact that there is significant lift from a length.
Brave
and very good. Faf du Plessis in there at slip. Rossi van der Dussen in there on Hayden. This is back of a length from Pretorius, and Root now forced to stay in his crease. Plays this off the back foot into the leg side. They do not attempt a single. For doing so would have been foolishness. We will have a change. Steve Jones will come in on ball by ball. Tony will move across.
Mash will come in.
Mash will come in tweets, and Dave Brooke will be playing your jingles.
So we'll just play you this while we change.
Not yet. One ball left.
This ball.
Pretorius has bowled that little bit shorter than Werner Philander. He's a little bit taller, able to dig the ball into the wicket. Still that slip, and almost a 3rd slip. And Rossi van der Dussen is in so tight to the cut strip that even though Root played quite a nice straight drive between stumps and non-striker, van der Dussen was able to dive to his left and pick the ball up on the cut strip. There is no run. Joseph Edward Root is 15 not out off 28. Dom Sibley is 60 not out off 150. Dominic Peter Sibley, to give him his full name. England are 133 for 2, lead by 179. And a word from our sponsors, or indeed ourselves.
It's been too many overs on a little couch, just like an old biddy. They need to stretch and slouch. It's been a few overs coming, but to the sofa, change gon' come. Oh yes it is.
So we've quickly switched around. It's myself, Steve Jones, on ball-by-ball commentary. To my right, control of Jingles, as Maharaj comes in, and that's down the leg side, going away for 4 byes for the look of it. Good way to start the session. I think Faf complaining there was no shot offered there, but anyway, umpire seems to have given it. So to my right is Dave on Jingles in charge.
Hello there, Steve.
And to my left, the football-loving Mash.
Football and cricket.
And the West Indies.
And
you're surrounded by West Indies fans.
Yes. To the left of me, to the right of me. Actually, it's a leg by, actually. It's just glanced off his front foot there, off Joe Roach's front foot. Still a debate going on, but I think it's going to stand. Yep. Maharaj in again. Again, this leg side bowling plan that he's had for the day, he and the captain, and Sibley just pokes his front foot down the track, and the ball bounces away into the offside. It's more of the same, chaps.
Well, yeah, Maharaj has just it's obviously been ordered to bowl there, so you can't blame him, but it's very defensive, and South Africa have paid the price. I think they haven't been penetrative, have they? And as you were saying before, they just sat back and slowed the game down.
Maharaj again outside off. This time it's punched away onto the leg side by Sibley. Deep fielder comes in, throws it back in again, and the batsmen have crossed 4. Another single. The England score moves up to 138 for 2. The lead advances to 184. It's becoming a very, very strong position for England. This one that we probably weren't expecting, I don't think.
Well, I mean, we were saying, but I was saying earlier on that I thought the tactics were wrong from South Africa, and that England just may have been making slow progress, but in what has been a low-scoring match, they're moving into very, very strong position, and yeah, they've continued to build on that, haven't they? And Sibley on 61, his maiden 50, he's looked very solid.
He looked quite strong. Maharaj in his 19th over, no wickets for 44, so he's been economic, but as we say, not really penetrative at the moment. Any tweets?
Sorry. Sorry, there's loads since I last looked.
Maharaj in. He's going around the wicket this time, punched into the offside by Joe Root. They jog through for a single. Root moves on to 16. Sibley 61 not out. Mash, what they're doing.
Dr. Leonie Hicks says, talking about football is bad enough. The bear licking beer, worse, but you have reached the nadir with mentions of South Western Railway. My weekly commute starts again tomorrow, and last term only one train was on time.
Maharaj back to over the wicket again, outside off stump. Sibley just shoulders, arms, just the leg out, and the ball just runs away onto the leg side. Fielder runs round. Again, no run.
Brian, AD Brian says, re-poor train services. I'm aware of the form that South Western Trains has, strike action notwithstanding. However, London Overground have been giving them a run for their money recently.
Maharaj to complete his 19th over. This is poked out into the leg side. The batsman crossed for a single. The England score moves on to 140 for 2. The lead up to 186.
Alexa of Azazel says, hello Gorilla Cricket from a hailstorm hit Gudwahati, if I've said that right. The Indian Sri Lankan T20 International was scheduled tonight, but it doesn't look like there will be any play possible anytime soon. And then Hendo, this one must be for Knackle. Please help a harassed journo out. Anyone know a fascinating but not widely known stat about Dom Sibley? Please tweet me. I might retweet that for Gorilla Cricket.
Well, I mean, I gave
followers.
Hendo the important family stat earlier.
Please tweet him.
Which is?
Well, he's the son of an ECB administrator who took cricket off free to air.
I'm not sure he wants to...
Oh no, I forgot where he worked.
Yes.
So if anyone does know, please tweet Cat Sitting Hendo. A fascinating but not widely known stat about Dom Sibley.
There must be something about his move from Surrey to Warwickshire. Was he an under performer at Surrey, or did he not get the opportunities?
Probably fell out with the coaching team as well. It's Pretorius to continue into his Fifth over, he's been fairly sparsely
He fell out
used.
with Stewie? Did he?
What? I don't know.
Oh, you were asking
I'm
the
just
question.
speculating.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were making a statement there.
Seems to be a usual reason for people to move on from counties.
I mean, I know that he wanted to play, to be back higher in the order. He wanted to be guaranteed, an opening berth or top 3 berth, didn't he? And they weren't able to make those. I don't know who does open with Rory Burns.
I don't know the Surrey team, so I can't comment. Pretorius in again, this time just nudged into the leg side by Sibley. There's no run.
It's one of the Durham brigade, isn't it? It's Mark Stoneman.
Stoneman, right.
Yeah, Stoneman or Sibley. Maybe Surrey made the wrong call there. It hasn't been a great move, has it, down from either Stoneman or Scott Borthwick, who made the trip as a package deal down from Surrey, Durham to Surrey.
Did you say that as a yet? Pretorius in again. This is a full ball attempted Yorker that Sibley just digs out from underneath his toes. Has a little look at his bat. I think bat clattered into the ground quite hard there. But again, no run.
Just over on Crit Tracker, just shout out Ramazan, Sharla and Jibin. All are saying hi to us, so shout out you guys.
Good afternoon to you all. Pretorius to continue his over to Sibley. Again, outside off stump, he pushes this away to cover. There's no run. Ball's back in. Again, quite tidy bowling here. Not dangerous, not penetrative. It's all sort of a bit going through the motions, aren't they? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's been very slow going today. I'm just not sure. Like I say, I'm not sure what the South Africans' plan has been today. But then maybe the pitch is just not.
Well, the ball's not really coming on a lot, is it? And there's occasional funny bounce. That's a lovely on drive. Fielder comes around, restricts them to the single. Yes. Scores moved on to 141 for 2. The lead up to 187, approaching the 200 marks. Quite a feat that would be.
I mean, do you think South Africa could have played this differently in terms of attacking more and looking for doing more to get wickets?
Well, that over the Rabada bowl to Crawley was really quite good and aggressive, wasn't it? Really upset Crawley, caused him to play a full shot, lose his wicket. Pretorius into Root. Root just jabs us out into the offside. Ball dribbles towards the end of the square. That's the end of the over. The lead stays at 186. Pretorius 5 overs, 0 for 17 so far. And a final session of the day, grand total I think of about 145 runs scored today, so it's been slow progress with the bat.
Well, I'm sure you're not looking to criticise England by saying that. It's just that South Africa have had very defensive fields and they haven't looked like they wanted to attack, so England have, I think, played it well.
I think they played it very
well. No
well,
matter how slowly they go, it's just making that lead.
Time is on their side and they just need to get as much as they can.
2 days to go, so it's very early to be playing for a draw if that's what South Africa were trying to do. I just don't understand why they weren't trying to be more penetrative early on.
Maharaj to continue his over the wicket left arm orthodox into the leg side again. Sibley just jabs his leg down the track. The ball runs away off his pad. Another dot goes into the book. Maharaj just jogs a few steps in again on the leg side. This hits the outside of his leg pad, just dribbles away into the leg side. Again, no run. Bowling at a very consistent sort of 50-56 miles an hour. That was a little bit one of his faster ones, but
consistent line as well, just aiming to pitch it outside leg stump. Sibley's just padding it away.
Oh, again on the leg side, and Sibley has a shot of this. It flies off the front leading edge. The fielder makes a right old hash of that, and the batsman have been able to jog quite gently through for 2 runs.
Yeah, Sibley was lucky escape there because it was a full shot. He was
in the air for a while.
It came off the leading edge and really he was that number. Pounced in front of
Hamza.
Thank you. But Hamza could perhaps have anticipated it more, but it was a full shot, and Sibley got away with that one.
It is one of those horrible ones with balls spinning horribly. I suppose a bit unfair to criticise them there. But anyway, 2 more to the score. Maharaj is in again on the leg side, again padded away by Sibley. South African fielders jog round. Anything on the Twitter sphere?
Arthur Patricia says, Dom Sibley knows the language of owls, but has sworn never to use it until humanity addresses climate change.
Is that
That's for Hendo.
Oh, for Hendo.
Right. Maharaj in again, a bit fuller, just still outside leg stump, but much more out the stumps, and this is played with the bat by Sibley, just back to the bowler again.
I imagine the fact checkers at the Times will have something to say about that one.
Maharaj again way outside leg stump. This beats everybody. The diving cock, the diving leg slip, and has run away for 4 and the score jogs forward. England 3 short of the 150, the lead into the 190s now.
Yeah, I've seen enough of Maharaj to last quite a long time actually, because it's so negative that the tactics, and he paid the price there with the ball that pitched even further outside the leg stump, and it didn't really spin very much, and it's gone past de Kock, it's gone past the leg slip down to the fine leg boundary, and it's hard to defend those sort of tactics. It must have been bowling unchanged now for what? 10? Is it 10 overs?
No, it's about 15 or 16 overs, I think.
15 or 16 overs, and hardly. I don't think he's bowled a ball that's pitched on middle stump yet. He hadn't. He's
gone round the wicket to Root, hasn't he? But to Sibley, he's persisted with this over the wicket. It's Pretorius to continue with his 6th over. Root just jabs us away down to a wide fine leg, and they've come through for a single. The score moves on to 148.
Yeah, he's bowled 20 overs, Maharaj, 0 for 48. 20 overs, 7 maidens, no wicket for 48. But it's the wickets column that's the key.
We're just watching some highlights of Sibley's 65 not out so far. He's hit 10 fours in this innings of his. Some of them even in the offside, which has been a bit unusual. So in fact, some lovely offside shots he's played today. So Pretorius in again outside off stump. Sibley forward, and forward defensive shot out into the offside. The South Africans have reduced their slip cordon to just the 2. They've removed the gully that they've had most of the match. Have taken away the very silly fine leg as well that they've had in for the fast bowlers. So it's a very defensive field as well, along with the very defensive bowling attack that they're putting forward. So Pretorius to continue. Past the umpire. This is left by Sibley and taken by de Kock behind, who's standing right up to the stumps.
I guess the logic is to close down one end in terms of scoring and attack from the end with the crack. Was it the Weinstein, the Weinberg end? What is it? The
Weinberg.
Thank you, Weinberg end. But we haven't seen enough of Philander and Rabada really. We haven't seen much of them since the first hour.
Just showing Sibley's wagon wheel. There's a predominance of his run scoring on the leg side, but a few tasty shots into the offside. Pretorius again outside off stump. Sibley again just lifts his bat and leaves it for de Kock to take, standing up behind the stumps. England lead is now 194. This partnership, 47 runs from 83 balls, so fairly comfortable pace. There's been no dangers, no alarms, occasional low bounces, but we've got those mostly with Rabada and Philander this morning. So I think Joe Root will be the much happier of the 2 captains at this point in the game. Pretorius to continue in his 6th over, past the umpire again outside off stump. This time Sibley does play a forward defensive and just pushes it out into the offside. Again, no run. Anything in Twitterland?
Yes, so in follow-up to Arthur Patricia's Dom Sibley story, he says it's as factually correct as the shit the Times print on a weekly basis about trans healthcare, so it should be fine.
Well said.
And then Jeff Perkins says some doubters have suggested that this story came about due to a type in which Dom Sibley was listed as having been dismissed, caught and owled.
Let's see. So final ball of the over. A bit more of an aggressive on drive from Sibley, but it doesn't beat the ring of fielders, and that's the end of the over.
So whilst we go through another kind of generally listless spell of play due to South Africa's negativity, I have something for the Twitter sphere.
Let's hear it.
So, Twitter followers, complete this sentence in whichever way you feel possible. Did I ever tell you about the time cricket saved my life? Finish that sentence. I want to hear your stories. We'll see what happens.
Have you got an end to the sentence, or is it just a thought that you've...
I'm going to save my story till the very end. I want to see what everyone else says. Did I ever tell you about that time cricket saved my life?
A DJ saved my life, huh? But I can honestly say I couldn't answer that question. I don't think it's ever been that serious. Anyway, Maharaj to continue again into his leg theory, bowling into the outside leg stump, bowling to root. It just pads this away into the offside. Fairly quiet phase of the game at the moment. Maharaj again over the left arm, over the wicket. This is punched away into the leg field side. This is going to run away for a boundary. This is going to be... That was a lovely shot by Root, really quite effortless. Just seemed to sort of clip that away onto the leg side, and it just beat the fielder, but it rolled beautifully into the boundary. Great shot.
That'll teach Maharaj to pitch one on middle stump.
It was a close race between the ball and the fielder, but pleasingly the ball won. Just showing lots of replays of that coming off Rooty's bat.
That's interesting. Joe Root is using a New Balance Village bat.
Yeah. Maharaj again outside off stump. Again Root clips this into the leg side. This is not going to go to the boundary as the South African square leg field just jogged round, gone through to one. England's.
I wonder why New Balance used the term Village for their top of the range bat. Because where I come from, Village, if someone does something village, it's not, it's not a positive. If someone does something on the field, you say very village.
Really? I've never heard the phrase.
That?
No, never
I
heard
have,
the phrase
yeah.
at all.
You must have obviously played much higher standard cricket than I have then, if you've never heard the term.
Again, Maharaj to Sibley. This is outside leg stump. Let's just give you a score update. England have now gone past the 150, 153 for 2. The lead is a run short of 200. Root has progressed to 22 after 34 balls he's faced. And Sibley is still stuck on 65. He's been here for quite a while now, 5-10 minutes.
Did you play any cricket yourself, Steve?
Yeah.
What did you play for?
I was played for the school for the first 11 for the last 3 years of my school. Had a trial for Sussex under-19s.
Did you?
A batsman.
Ooh, that's serious.
And, I was not chosen.
Any of those other Sussex under-19s made the grade?
No, I don't actually. We had 3 or 4 of the first 11 team play for the Sussex under-19. We did have Paul Parker was 2-3 years ahead of me. He was the first captain I played under.
Are we talking Colliers or
Colliers? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it was. I'm pleased you know it.
I was wondering. I thought you might be impressed with that.
As we've been chatting away, Sibley has hit a beautiful cover shot, square cut boundary for one of these. Beautiful shot. Maharaj going round the wicket for a change outside off stump, and Sibley's just rocked back very gently and cut this absolutely square. Beautiful shot, all well on the ground, no danger. 4 firm runs, and that takes the England lead past the 200 up to 203.
Well, it's an important innings this for Dom Sibley, because he hadn't passed the half century before. He'd always got himself out when it looked like he was getting set, and now we're beginning to see him coming into his element, because those of you who've watched him in county cricket know that he does speed up a bit when he gets past the 50 mark. He's got a few shots on all sides of the wicket, and he's shown us that he does actually have the old back foot 4, because he played a cover drive earlier. But obviously he favours the onside, but he'll be pleased with that, and he moves on to 69.
Quality shot.
I'm now convinced he's going to get a century.
This says the voice of the man who bet on him not reaching a century. You're still 31 runs away.
Yeah, I've just cashed out at a loss because I know he's going to get a century.
That's what I should have.
Probably put the mockers on him there, man. Right. Pretorius continues into Joe Root, firmly forward on the front foot, and just pushes his way onto the offside.
I should have cashed my unpatriotic bet out a long time ago.
I still have a sort of a slight nagging thought at the back of my head. Is this pitch becoming benign and easy to bat on, and thereby England really do need to get to 450 to even secure a draw here. Anyway, Pretorius past the umpire. This is straighter actually at the off stump. It's a rare ball from the South Africans aimed at the stumps at the other end.
I suppose, people who haven't been looking at the coverage today would say, well, what's happened to that sort of crack in the pitch that everyone was talking about that was giving all the variable bounce and causing all the problems to these teams in the first innings? Has it been filled in with polyfiller?
Joe Root came out last night and did some gardening.
Well, I mean, what has happened to it?
Pretorius again, on middle and off stump. Root very cautiously straight backs this back down the track.
Have the bowlers just not been hitting it, or was it overstated, do you think, about the impact in the first innings?
I suppose we've got to bear in mind that the ball's in its, I think around about its 60th over. I think they've got about another 20 overs, so these kookaburras do go dead as dodos, don't they? The only difference is that South African, Australian, New Zealand bowlers seem to be able to carry on using it no matter what state it's in. Pretorius again to Root, jumps back onto his, almost onto his stumps. Firm back foot defensive shot, just pushed back down the track. England 157 for 2, the lead still 203.
So did you go on to play club cricket, Steve?
Yeah, I played.
Your spell at Colliers?
After
Who did you play for?
Various sides in it, because Colliers is down in Horsham in Sussex. So various teams in the Sussex area,
including Horsham, Jofra Archer's team.
Not Horsham themselves, but a lovely little village just nearby called Broadbeach Heath is where I finished off my career. Pretorius. A full ball on Root's legs. He flicks this away square. Rabada comes in to keep the score to just the 1 run. A lovely village called Broadbeach Heath, so that's where I finished my career, and then came up to London when I was at college and stuff, and played for some teams in the Streatham area and thoroughly enjoyed it. But realised that they were all going for nets and playing 2 matches a weekend, and I was just turning up on the Saturday or the Sunday. And they were just getting too good for me, so I retired gracefully at about 25. Pretorius to Sibley, just rocks back onto the back foot, pushes us out.
Did you say you retired at 25?
From cricket, yeah, not...
What, at the age of 25 or 25 years ago?
No, 25.
What, and no more recreational cricket after 25?
Yeah.
You were a loss to the great game.
Well, it's very nice of you to say, Mash, but I don't think I was.
Did you take up golf or something?
Well, I had got into golf by then, and I was also playing tennis at the time, and I'd stopped playing basketball as well. So.
Went to tennis over cricket.
Well, it was shorter in time. That was the other thing. Went off and played a match at 10 o'clock, got back by 1 o'clock. And I was
back in time to go down the DIY shop.
Well, yeah, there were girls involved and girls.
I see.
Right.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
You had a life. You had a life.
Well, it actually always used to amaze me, and with the guys I was playing with who were sort of family men in their late 40s or 50s. It's Maharaj to continue. Let's get back to the cricket here. And Root completely misses this. It rattles into his pads. And I used to be really quite impressed by the fact that they had families, they had work jobs, and they were coming out and playing on Saturdays and Sundays. It's just extraordinary.
Mountain Muppet says the commentators, when Van der Dussen was batting, said he was really slow and he needs to pick it up. But for Sibley, they're saying he's playing a solid knock.
That's because Sibley's English, I think you'll find. Maharaj in again. Root just Leans forward, just pushes us out onto the leg side.
I mean, I think I used the word solid, Steve, and I must admit, I wasn't on duty yesterday, and as I didn't comment on Van Dusen's knock, I would not have accused him of being too slow, because it's we've still got 5 days
test matches.
over test match. We haven't shortened it yet.
Well, guys, again, left side, and Root sort of square.
I'm going to call that
I mean,
sort of a square pull, but went 45 degrees rather than square. So it's quite a really choppy shot.
Yep. The other thing I'd say to sorry, I've forgotten the name of the tweeter.
Mountain Muppet.
I love it. The other thing I'd say, Mountain Muppet, is that Sibley's role is clearly to be the solid opening bat. That's what he's been brought in to bat time, because England have been failing to bat time over the last couple of years.
Maharaj again, the outside leg stump. Root just rocks back, pushes this out into the leg side.
And my final response is to Mountain Muppet is that Van Dusen. I thought Van Dusen's innings was a really good innings when he obviously had his life, very valuable in the context of the match. And so it's not been an easy pitch to score quickly on.
Yep.
And I would criticise neither of the players.
Maharaj again, Sibley forward and defends this away. Of course, the other point, he's still the one half of the only 100 partnership, I believe, in the match. So, a very, very valuable knock by the man. Maharaj to continue. This one's actually pitched in line with leg stump. And Sibley on the front foot pushes away. That's the end of Maharaj 22nd over, 0 for 62.
I mean, if you think about, Mash. If you think about the expectation, I was going to say the expectations at the start of the day were, a lot of people said to me, "Oh, England will struggle in the second innings." So the context in that, given that context, the fact that it has been on the slow side but solid, is probably a good result for England, because the fear was that you would see a collapso situation.
Yeah, no, I don't think there can be no criticism of England's approach whatsoever. Any criticism that there is in what's been a very slow day of cricket has to go South Africa's way. Crystal Choir says Dom Sibley passes 100 runs in the match after 6 hours and 2 minutes at the crease.
Jesus, that's slow. Oh, sorry. My argument.
He's not solid anymore.
Solid as a rock, solid as the wall. Yes, I'm talking Rahul Dravid.
Rahul Dravid. What a classy player he was.
Well,
what are the South Africans doing here? They're having a bit of a conflab somewhere on the pitch. There's no action going on at the moment. They're being festooned with pictures of people in the crowd. Faf is having discussions with his teammates. What do they come up with, do you think?
Well, surely a change of approach from Maharaj. Surely has got to be on the cards, or a change of bowling, dare I suggest. I mean, he has bowled 20 on the bounce, or on the roll. What did we say? 20 on the roll. Yeah.
Well, it looks like Pretorius to continue. It is. He's into Root, who's firm straight drive for the side. They decided not to take the single. There probably was a run there, I think, but they decided not to chance it. Sibley, I think, was sort of dashing backwards and forwards in fear of his stumps being broken and being run out. So I think that was why they declined the single.
I think Root fell over, didn't he?
No, Sibley did, I think. Yeah, Sibley did.
Someone's got
Oh, sorry, it was Sibley. Yeah, right, sorry.
And they're all smiling and laughing about it now. Pretorius is on his way in again to continue his 8th over. Clipped away into the leg side by Root. It's brilliantly fielded by Root to prevent the England batsman taking a run.
By Milan, yes.
Was it Milan?
Yes.
Yeah, correct. I sit corrected, thank you.
You said by Root.
Hit by, did I say? Oh. Well, the shot was by Root. But Milan, with an excellent bit of fielding or diving away to his right, prevents the opportunity for any runs to the England score. Pretorius has a very languid run in, doesn't he? Anyway, he's past the umpire. Again, just outside off stump. Root is firmly forward, just pushes this straight down the track. And again, there is no run.
Steve, can I suggest a Pretorius jingle just to line
Yes,
up proceedings,
let's
just in
go.
case anyone's falling asleep?
Let's go for it.
Pretorius. Dwayne Pretorius.
There you go.
He might have reached his mark by now. Yes, he has. He's on the way in. Again, just outside off stump. A little bit of a jumpy ball en route. He looks a little bit surprised. He's played it quite firmly down into the ground. Nothing is going to come of it. No run, no wicket, no nothing. And now we're watching someone lighting up their cigarette. It's getting very exciting.
Lighting one up or rolling one up? Yeah.
Yes.
Rolling one up.
England 163-4-2 in their second innings.
Well,
They've advanced their lead to 209.
I think they've only got a couple of balls, Steve, to talk about Sussex quickly because, hold on.
Pretorius to Root firmly drives us down. They've got this very sort of silly mid-on position right in front of the non-striking batsman.
I take it Sussex's season was so poor that you don't really want to talk about it.
It was very, very poor. It started with sort of a lot of promise after the first two games and then just dribbled away into nothing. Rather like Middlesex's. Anyway, there is going to be a handover after this final ball from Pretorius' 8th over. England's lead has advanced to 209. That was again actually bowled one out the stump, flicks us into the leg side by Root. Milan fields, there's no run. That's the end of Pretorius' 8th over, 0 for 19. England 163 for 2. They've advanced their lead to 209. We will have a changeover.
Alternative cricket commentary, bringing you laughs, bringing you jingles, bringing you joy. We are Gorillas. We need your Patreon.com/Gorilla Cricket.
Hello. And we're back on, halfway through the third session now. England 163 for 2, leading by over 200 now, 209.
Yeah, very healthy lead indeed. Vernon Philander is going to return to the attack.
Let's jingle him up.
Indeed.
Oh well, I'm the type of guy who will never settle down. Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss 'em and I love 'em, 'cause to me they're all the same. I get so gosh darn hammered I don't even know their names. 'Cause I'm a philanderer, yes, a philanderer. I sleep around.
Yes, Vernon Philander. This is John Batham, otherwise known as Ellis_Red, joining you for the next half an hour. I feel slightly overawed, I must admit, because on my right I have Dr. Katie.
Hello.
And on my left I have the Bishop.
It's me.
So here is Vernon Philander, and the first ball is flicked away down to long leg by Dominic Sibley for a single that takes him to 70.
Did I see that they were deploying two kind of short mid-ons?
Yes, they were. One of whom was virtually standing on the strip.
And is the point of that, do you think, just to try and put pressure on a batsman who's approaching a land? Well, he's not quite approaching a landmark at 70. It's a bit early to say that, but they obviously feel that that's a way to deal with.
They're trying to get a lofted drive, I can only assume. Here's Philander again, and this one is squeezed out on the offside by Joe Root, and again there's time for a single. Root to 29 now, 165 for 2.
For those bird watchers amongst you, there was a hadada on the outfield. If you're ticking off what the avian fauna of Cape Town, you can tick off hadada.
We had one on the outfield on day one, did we not? That was on the outfield forever.
Apparently he'd gone then for the morning of day 2 and then came back to a huge roar of applause from the Barmy Army.
Yeah, he was.
We christened him NASA.
We did, yeah, indeed we did.
Long nose.
Here's Philander, and that one Sibley shoulders arms and lets it through to De Kock, who's now standing up to the stumps for Philander. Yes, he was on the outfield basically all day. I think one or two of the South African fielders were a bit unnerved by his presence, or irritated is perhaps the right word, but he wasn't showing any signs of going anywhere.
No.
A very interesting tweet from Linux Leo. I'm just trying to work out the order to read them in, Leo, so bear with me for a second. And
here is Vernon Philander. In again and bowls, and that tucks Sibley up and hits him high up on the thigh pad. Philander thinks about appealing and then thinks, no, it's far too high, and just turns around and wanders back to his mark again.
Actually, I'll leave it to the end of the over because it's in two parts.
Bit of a marathon.
Well, no, I wouldn't call it marathon, but deserves a bit of time and thought.
Indeed. Well, we will give it its due care and attention. That was quite painful, I would imagine. The inside of the thigh.
I can tell you that Creek Tracker folk keep saying hi and hello. Santosh Kumar, Arman Khan, Ritik Shivari, and John Shrix Benjamin.
Philander in again. Wow, that's either a good leave or a bit of luck for Sibley, because he left that and it can't have been that far from the top of off, I don't think.
No, that was a nice ball.
Came in a little bit again. Oh, dear me. A proverbial coat of paint, I think we would call that one.
What did you do in the first innings? Two for Philander, 2 for 46, wasn't it?
Yes, he's going at less than 2 and over for the test match again, I think.
And that was Crawley and Bess. So
10th over of this innings, 0 for 9. So
not quite George Gershwin.
Philander in again, bowls, and Sibley just stands up, plays it back to the bowler, who looks a little irritated and makes as if he's going to throw it back in Sibley's direction, but he doesn't. It's the end of the over. It's 165 for 2.
Anyway, right, so Linux Leo says, did I ever tell you about the time cricket saved my life? Here goes. A few years back, I was going through a pretty dark time in my life, and listening to the Cricket Sadist Hour and reading Gerard Kimber's article, Marcus North Saves Lives. One night in Adelaide that Kate McGregor remembers were probably 2 of the reasons I am still here today. Well, thank goodness you are.
Thank goodness you are.
And just briefly on the subject of Marcus North, we are talking to Marcus on quite a regular basis and hoping to go and do some work with Durham at the start of the new season. But, well, thank you for sharing that intimate thought.
That reminds us, there's been a lot of talk about depression and mental health stuff going around recently. That ball is played out on the offside. I think it's a new over.
Football did a good job of it yesterday, actually. The masterstroke of that, from a marketing perspective, was having a kick-off at a minute past 3. Because normally, if it was like a minute silence or these other things they do at football matches, then you kind of have it happen, but you don't change the kick-off time.
Yeah.
But they actually publicised very specifically that all the matches would start a minute late and
that was very
starting
good,
at 3:01.
I agree. Here's Pretorius, and that's driven, and this short mid-on fielder dives across and stops it in front of the stumps. I'm not sure if I was England I'd be happy about that fielder, because he's virtually on the cut strip.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little surprised. Siam Patel says, hello commentators. Hello to you. Ankit Salgia says South Africa will win this match. That's a brave claim right at the moment.
Put your money where your mouth is, because you could get some pretty good odds for that, I would say.
Slight, I'll tell you in a
Here's
moment.
Pretorius, he's in, he bowls, and this is driven beautifully out through cover. The fielder's off in pursuit. Maharaj, is he going to drag it back? No, he doesn't get there. He collides with the boundary rope, and it's 4 to Root. That was a lovely shot, just punched through cover.
Ankit Zagia also went on then to say either match draw or South Africa will win this match. So he's already hedging the bets there. And then he went on one more time to say it's my guarantee. So I'm not quite sure how he guarantees that. I mean, do we get money back? Well, we obviously haven't paid you anything. But nonetheless, there is the pledge. It's a pledge.
I think there are people out there who would take your money.
He's
on
probably
that one.
watched a lot of English cricket, but even so. Here's Pretorius again to Root, who plays that out square, and it's fielded at point by Maharaj. But no, what we were saying, I agree with you, Tony. I think it was really important to
the 1 minute pass through thing. Yeah,
just
clever, very clever.
Mental health in football.
So I don't really follow football that much. What was the delayed kickoff?
Yeah, delayed kickoff by a minute to give spectators at the grounds a chance to think about their own mental health.
Well, they did have a video which lasted a
1 minute
around mental health.
That's very clever. Yeah.
But then every single kickoff time had been publicised as 1 minute past 3 rather than 3.
Here's Pretorius again. Into Root. There's a little hesitation, but eventually they go and they're through comfortably for a single. 170 for 2.
I have to say, I think that mental health is one area that cricket does very well in. And I think a lot of that we can thank Marcus Trescothick for being so open and honest when he had mental health issues that affected his game. And since then, I think an awful lot of people in and around the sport have come out and said, well, yes, I've also suffered from mental health issues.
Yeah.
And there's lots of support out there. It's very open and very honest, which I'd almost more than almost any other community, I think, which is really, really nice.
Here's Pretorius again. He's in, and that one spits a bit off the surface. Sibley takes one hand off the bat, and it goes out on the offside. But yeah, I just think, if you're anyone who is in a darker moment, shall we say, find someone and some way to talk about it and reach out, and don't be alone in it. There's some support out there.
And you're very much not the only person.
No, absolutely not.
A lot of our heroes have come out and discussed their own mental health issues,
absolutely.
And we respect them all the more for it.
Ankit Salgia says, what are your thoughts? And actually then went on to state one of mine without me having said it, which is I think the pitch has settled down. I think you've got to factor in, Ankit, the fact that, they are, England are 200 and what now ahead? 220 odd? 220 odd, was it? So with 2 and a bit days left and only 2 wickets down, so they've got a platform to really build on that. If you take out the equation, their ability to spectacularly collapse on occasion.
Here's Philander into Root, who plays it out on the offside. I think the other thing is you might say that the pitch has settled down because England are 170 for 2, but I would also say that South Africa have bowled very negatively today. So they haven't really bowled to get wickets. It seems a lot of the time.
I think that's definitely true to a certain extent in the case of Maharaj. He's
so therefore,
plugging away, isn't he, outside of that leg stump?
If you're not attacking, if you're not bowling an attacking line, do you know that the pitch has settled down? Would it go off the cracks if you bowled a bit more aggressively? I don't know.
But I think there's a lot of credits to the England top 3 over the last day or two, just having been really sensible.
Here's Philander again, and Root drives that. Philander gets a hand on it and manages to take the pace off it, and Rabada comes round at mid-on and completes the tidy-up job.
So I think, Ankit, in a nutshell, to your question, I think England would still be now favourites, but you would need to factor in that issue, the possible levelling out of the pitch, and England being perhaps their most potent pace bowler down. But Jimmy and Stuart Broad proved they've still got it when they need to. So it's all to play for, with the odds slightly on England, in a nutshell.
Here's Philander again. That keeps really low, and Root, who's on the back foot, manages to jab the bat down and poke it out on the offside. I mean that speaks to that last exchange, really, that you say the pitch has settled down, but you bowl a ball which is in the right area, on off stump or just outside. It probably hits one of those cracks. It doesn't bounce quite so much. Another one might hit the crack and bounce a lot more.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you think, well, 216 ahead with more than 2 days to play. That's a good position.
Yeah.
I think England will be very upset if they don't win this game from
Well,
here.
they in the context of the series, they could certainly do with levelling things up, couldn't they?
Here is Philander again, bustling in, and he bowls, and Root plays this square on the offside. There's quite a tight inner ring now on the offside, and sort of point cover mid-off.
So remind me, how are we finishing this series off? It's Port Elizabeth next, is it?
And then Joburg.
Back to Joburg
Yep.
for the Bull Ring. That's interesting because, I mean, that's quite an intimidating place to play cricket for the 4th test. But on the other hand, last time England were there, they won in 3 days. So they've probably got some good memories of that. It's if England win this one, it'll be a really nicely poised series. I think England and South Africa is always one of the best series because they do tend to be pretty well matched.
Here's Philander again, he's in, and Root works this off middle and leg out to mid-wicket, where Maharaj kind of tumbles over in his attempts to field. There was always going to be a single there anyway, and Root's gone to 35.
Yeah, he's looking tidy. Arthur Patricia says South Africa can chase down anything short of 400. They underperformed in the first innings, same as England. Way to go yet before they're out of this. Well, I'd agree with that too.
That's true.
We're seeing very strange pictures there of, I think it's Rassie van der Dusen, who picked the bails off the stumps at the umpire's end. Here's Philander again, and that's played out to short mid on. He picked the bails off the stumps at the umpire's end and put them round the other way. Not quite sure why he did that.
Don't know, something to do with wind maybe? Was there a bit of wind whipping?
Very
We have a
bizarre.
drinks break. Diana Patterson, the eagle-eyed Diana Patterson, I might point out, says, I have noted that Katie looks at cricket using her peripheral vision.
Oh.
What advantage does this give her? My interest is that I cannot see anything moving at speed and wonder if that helps. Well, one thing I can assure you of, Diana, is you're unlikely to see any fellow guerrilla commentator moving at any kind of speed by and large. But Katie, is there a reason?
No, that's a good spot. You're only the third person to spot that. One of my housemates and my mom have noticed that I do watch the TV, not actually looking straight at the TV, and I don't know why I do it. It's just a thing. I don't think it improves my seeing of the TV, but well spotted.
Well, there we go. John Alford says, hi team, listening from Madrid on a lazy afternoon.
Ooh,
Although
very nice.
early evening sees one of the biggest celebrations of the year in Spain, Epiphany processions with the Kings. Well, enjoy that if you're going out to see that.
Very nice.
Have fun indeed, John. Johnny Price says, if Crawley, Sibley and Denley were Craw.ly, Sib.ly and Den.ly were tech startups, what would they do?
Nice.
Crikey, there's a lateral question.
Oh my word.
Crawley, Sibley and Den.ly. ly. So what's ly in the internet world? .com,
Goodness.
Not sure.
.co.uk,
Don't
.org,
know.
.io.
That's far
I'm not
too
sure.
clever a question for me.
Johnny, we're going to have to come back to you on that. So it's such a clever question.
We'll give it some thought.
You've flummoxed the slightly less technical brains to my right.
Libya.
Benjamin George Nash says, Guerrilla Cricket opted to watch the Spurs versus Borough game, so please give regular updates of the cricket on Twitter. Yes, I think you'll find we do that. Knackle, even now, will be bashing out the latest news. Des, who frequently appears as a competitor, if that's the right word, in a GPL, says, God, I'm fickle. I take it all back about Sibley. What a talent. He just has a misunderstood technique. Seagrave Saab says, as strong as this start is to the third innings, the anti-optimist in me, which I guess would be pessimist, but in this case it's the anti-optimist in me, can see us finishing at about 2:40 all out tomorrow morning when the second new ball out of nowhere starts swinging around corners. Well, this is it, Seagrave Saab. We have seen these things before, haven't we? Long-time England watchers know to expect, well, more or less anything, and often the worst.
But even so, even if that were to happen, that would still leave South Africa needing 287 to win on this pitch, which would be a big ask, I think. I mean, as far as Sibley's concerned, we were actually discussing this in the green room earlier on, and saying that perhaps people were a bit too quick to say, Sibley's not a Test player and whatever. And I was recalling the fact that the great Graham Gooch's first 3 innings for England were 0-0 and 0.
Yes, they were indeed.
And he did all right, I think we could say.
Yes, he did.
He did a tad well, so maybe a little patience is required. And that seems to be something that Mr. Sibley has quite a lot of.
He does, doesn't he? He does. Ankit is back with us again. He's moved off the fence now. He's now going in. He seems to be settling in on a draw as being the most likely, saying Faf will be the key player to make this match a draw. Well, just literally less than 2 minutes ago, it was a South Africa win or a draw. Actually, it started off as a South Africa win, then it moved to a South Africa win or a draw, and now it appears to have settled in on a draw.
Give him another 10 minutes and England will win.
So who knows, Ankit?
Well,
give him till the close of play. The West Indies are probably going to nick it at the last minute. But we shall see. We shall see.
WinViz has got 8% for South Africa, 9% for a draw, and 83% for England. So
well, that might be a little too much the other way, but I think the odds must be in England's favour at this point. and I'm a real pessimist, and I think the odds must be in England's favour. I mean, if we were to turn this round the other way, if South Africa were 217 ahead with 8 wickets in hand, everybody would say, well, England are dead.
Yeah.
England are absolutely dead. So that I think sometimes you have to do that. You have to turn it round the other way and say, well, what would you say in that context?
Oh, I am frequently told that by my friend who I watch cricket with a lot. And he goes, yes, but, if the boot was on the other foot, what would you be saying about Middlesex? And I go,
we'd be dead.
So this, your peripheral vision is causing some discussion now.
Sorry.
Well, don't apologise. Do not apologise. Shall I wait until after this Pretorius delivery?
Yeah, he's about to start again after drinks, isn't he?
It's this chap.
Pretorius. Pretorius.
Yes, the frugal Pretorius is back into the attack.
Sounds like a wonderful title for a book.
Frugal Pretorius, yes. And he bowls this one just on off stump, and Root drives it up to mid-off, who's in close, and therefore there's no chance of a run.
I think the Frugal Pretorius is a children's book, isn't it?
Oh, it should be, shouldn't
it? Yeah. Or
some sort of
Lewis Carroll poem, possibly.
I didn't even know that. There you go.
I don't think it actually
No, it isn't,
is.
but it's of that ilk. It's of that ilk,
couldn't it? Root waits again as Pretorius comes in and bowls, and this one offers to come back in a fraction, I think, and Root comes across and plays it up to
Dr. Zeus. Could he be a Dr. Zeus character?
He only used words that were in the kind of 100 easiest words or something.
Oh, really? I was just thinking of something like, the Frugal Pretorius drops the ball on the spot. Did it take a wicket? No, it did not.
Oh, very good.
But it doesn't work then. If it's not appropriate for Dr. Zeus, I'll take it back.
Spike Milligan, perhaps. Pretorius comes in, and this one's down the leg side, and Root helps it round, and it beats the fielder down at long leg and goes for 4. That was a pretty ordinary delivery from Pretorius, not frugal at all. See, we've called him frugal, and then he basically bowled a full toss around leg stump.
In response to a question, how many overs likely to be left today? Officially, it is... Oh, I've just lost it. I was just looking it up. Where's it gone? Overs left of the day. How many do we think?
Are we playing guess the number of overs left?
No. Officially, overs remaining 16.3.
Right.
Aha. So just over an hour's cricket, probably. Unless Maharaj comes back on, and then it might be slightly less than that. But that would produce another single for Root, which took him to 40. 176 for 2. The lead's now 222.
Is it Cape Town's 2 hours ahead of us, is it? So it's just coming up to 5 o'clock there. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's right.
So we're thinking, it looks like they probably will finish by 6 then, which is unusual.
It's Richie Benno time. Don't miss out on it. The lead is
2-2-2.
2
4.
2.
2.
2 2
Not
2
quite
for
Richie
2.
Benno time, because that's not actually the score, is it? It's the lead and the number of wickets.
Richie Benno, the great Richie Benno. Wonderful. We do miss him.
Very much so. So that was Ankit who was asking how many overs left today.
Aha, right.
We've had hellos from Nismuddin Khan as well, who says hi and okay. So hi and okay to you, and hello to Sampath Gamerj. What's the lead? The lead is 222.
Here's Pretorius to Sibley, who props forward and plays that out to mid-off. And that's the end of Pretorius' over. Number 29 from 10 now, 176 for 2.
Right, so Dr. Jonathan Lowe said, is Illy from the North End actually playing games on the phone? Or at the same time? That's how we usually watch TV with peripheral vision.
Yeah, there is something in that. But I'm not. I'm actually concentrating today.
Ha-ha. No, Katie was playing games in the green room, but not in here.
No.
And Elixir of Azazel, which I think is a wonderful name.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thinks you're on a dating app, except it's being used to find test openers.
Oh dear.
I'd love to see that.
Hey.
Swipe left or right, whether you like them.
All right, yes.
Excellent.
What an interesting idea. Jason Roy, which way would you swipe? I think that's... Obviously, I've never used a dating app.
Well, if test openers, I would swipe left.
You'd swipe left, so that would be a no thank you.
Aha. Here is Philander into Root, who props forward and plays that out to mid-off, where Elgar does the fielding. Thinking of Richie Benno, Tony, I think my favourite Richie Benno story is still from the 75 World Cup, when he was commentating on an Australia game against someone or another, and Rodney Marsh had been having an awful day and dropping numerous catches behind the stumps, and at one point during the afternoon a streaker ran onto the field, and in his indignation Rodney Marsh rugby tackled them, and quick as a flash Richie Benno said, well, that's the first catch that Rodney Marsh has made all day. Which was great. Here is Philander again. He's in and he bowls, and Root plays that out on the leg side to Maharaj at mid-wicket.
Gordon Wells, I think I'm getting it now. Den.ly, says Gordon Wells, might be we work for man caves. That's good.
Ah, very good, yeah.
Oh, I kind of get the question now.
Nice.
Craw.ly, that might be where things stick. Things you don't like. Sib sounds vaguely legal, says says Steve from behind the door.
Hey ho. Here is Philander again. He's in, and Root chops down on this, and it goes out square of the wicket on the offside. There's no run.
It's interesting, the relative strike rates of Root and Sibley. Root's got 40 off 67 balls, and Sibley's 70 off 186 balls. But I think he did actually have it quite a lot harder. Batting at the beginning of this innings seems to have got easier to bat.
Well, he actually batted out most of Philander's opening spell, which was as miserly as ever.
Yeah.
So he took nearly all the strike from Philander early on. Here is Philander into Root. That keeps low again, and Root again has to jab down on that. He gives a nod to the bowler down the far end and walks up and taps the offending area.
Zariab Aslam says, I'm back. He goes on to say, how are you? Aren't you tired? Well, if that's addressed to us, well, we do regularly, every half hour we refresh.
We do
the
rotate.
Team. Rotate, not refresh.
We rotate,
well, it's both
we?
really. It's rotate and refresh. So no, I'm feeling pretty chipper personally.
And everybody bought coffee today, so
we did.
We're surviving well.
Magnificent piece of guerrilla non-communication.
Here is Philander again into Root, and Root again just sort of dabs that out on the offside square of the wicket, and again there's no run. Philander still going at less than a run and over in this innings.
I think, talking about Sibley hogging the Philander's bowling, I think if you got a choice between Philander and Obada, you would choose to face Philander, wouldn't you?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I guess if you want to tick along, you would probably choose to face Rabada because he'll give you some opportunities to score. But on the other hand, he might be more likely to get you out.
Yeah.
And Rabada's opening stint to Crawley was pretty fearsome. Here is Root, and he punches this one, and it beats the fielder at point, who's racing back towards the boundary. Manages to haul the ball in, and Root ambles through for 2. It's 178 for 2 at the end of that over. I think we're about to do another switcheroo.
We'll just play this while we're switching seats.
It's been too many overs on a little couch, just like an old biddy. They need to stretch and slouch. It's been a few overs coming, but to the sofa, change gon' come. Oh, yes it is.
England 178 for 2. They lead by 2-2-4. Brooker 2, David Brooke, here with Mashal and Steve Jones.
Good afternoon again, everybody.
And Mashal's going to be thinking of some other teasers for you at home. So a few provocations from Mash in terms of getting the tweets going today. And my favourite bowler, Keshav Maharaj, has come back into the attack. I used the word attack very loosely.
There's a bowler there from South Africa. Started up bowling pace, but he made the switch. I wonder why, but he's known as Keshav.
Yes, I used the word attack loosely because he was very defensive in his bowling early on. He's bowling around the wicket now, so that's going to be an improvement. And he may not stay around the wicket for very long because Sibley has rocked onto the back foot and punished that one through the covers. 4 glorious runs to Sibley, showing that he can play shots all over the wicket. We've had to wait a long time in between them to wait for them, but he can play them. That one returned, but it was very slow, and I reckon maybe someone sitting in these chairs could have put that one away. You, Steve, would have put that one away when you're playing for Sussex under 19s, and that's
or not.
Played down. Yeah, and he had trials for Sussex under 19s. That's still pretty good. That's played down to mid on, and there's no one. So Sibley has gone on to the grand heights of 74. From 188 balls, if you're counting. Maharaj is coming round the wicket to him now, so that's a relief, because before tea he was bowling this over the wicket in onto the leg, outside the leg stump stuff, and that was getting quite tedious. But now he's coming round the wicket to Sibley, opening up the game a bit more. And so
the South Africans trying to encourage us, I think.
And that's played down to point by Sibley. And there's no run. Well, there maybe it might constitute a slight change of tactics. Who knows? You keep saying us, Steve, because you're talking to two West Indies fans here, so it's throwing me each time. And that's played out by Sibley for no run.
Very confusing for a simple brain like mine. I have to say.
I was listening to the bear on the first day. He was giving it the we've done this, we've done that, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. Felt like saying, speak for yourself, Bear. 182 for 2, and that is on accurate, on middle stump, does a little bit of turn. Forward defensive goes Sibley, he remains on 74. Roots on 42, England 182 for 2. Now Mashal's back. I believe you have a poser for our listeners.
Yes, I do. So in the green room, Dave and I were talking. Dave wanted to know what was I going to say when I got on there, and I said, I want to know from Guerrilla Cricket Twitter sphere, and anybody who knew who's following, obviously, join us. What's the most nondescript, boring day of Test cricket you have ever seen? I'd preferably live, but if it's been on TV, I think that will count as well. Dave's got an answer, but I don't want to hear his yet.
Oh,
I want to hear from the. In fact, no, give us yours first, Dave.
Okay,
to get
I'm
going
going to give you. I'm going to give you one. I was actually there, so I can't complain because I was in Sri Lanka in Gaul. So one of the loveliest grounds to be bored. If you're going to be bored anywhere, it would be there. And Marvin Atapatu, he accumulated a double century, or certainly a very large Big Daddy century, and it must have taken most of the game. Just always seemed to be batting, never seemed to get out. And I'm sure it took at least 3 days. Here's Anrich Nokia into the attack now, replacing Pretorius, and Root plays a nice stylish shot, but it's straight into the gully. Let's hear his jingle.
If your number one project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got to your number one guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Anrich Nokia.
I've got a controversial answer for mine.
Oh, right. Here's Nokia with his Nokia dialing tone. Bowls wide of the crease, and Root goes onto the back foot, plays that down into the gully again, and it's again no run. Nokia has placed Philander. Go on then, Mash. What's your starter for 10?
So my first ever trip to Sabina Park was in. Somebody who's got Twitter, the internet to hand, quickly find out the exact date, but it was either 98 or 99, West Indies versus Australia. And I saw Brian Lara and Jimmy Adams bat the whole day.
Well, that must be a
now you would
treat,
think that you would have thought that was a treat,
Yes.
but I was like 16 at the time, and Lara and Adams batted the whole day, and I think West Indies ended up winning that Test match at Sabina. And I've never been so bored. Lara was at his pomp, and he made, I don't know what he made, whether it was a double century or a 180 odd or something. And I turned to my dad at close of play, having seen no wickets, and Lara just smashed the Aussies all over the place and went, well, that was pretty boring.
What did your dad say?
You ungrateful sod. Nokia playing back foot. This time Root gets it wide of Gully, puts it through the point area for a single. Bloody ungrateful sod. That's what I was saying. You've just watched the world's greatest batsman, and you've had him for 6 hours. And uninterrupted.
My highlight was the oxtail and rice and peas that I had at lunchtime, though, in the pavilion. I thought, bloody hell, this is nice.
Well, I can rival that story, not for a nondescript day at the cricket, for a truly wonderful day at the cricket. But I've got to tell you about this one, Antigua, to 1996. Yes, I was there when Brian Lara broke the record. And that's certainly the opposite of a nondescript day. But when I got to the press box that day and spoke to the Guardian's cricket correspondent, I said, "Oh, how's it going? That must have been a fantastic first day." He said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to going home." And I thought that was an odd thing to say. So, because he was about to witness a world record being made. Here's Nokia, and that's played out on the onside by Sibley, and there's no run. I mean, it wouldn't have been my reaction, because I arrived at he was 131 not out overnight. I put it to you, Mash, that if you'd been there waiting for the record to be broken as everyone was talking about it, Gary Sober's in attendance, if I said to you, how's it going, well, you wouldn't be saying looking forward to going home, was your response.
I found that world record not quite boring as well, if I'm honest with you. I'm not a fan of long batting.
Right, okay. Nokia, and Sibley is a fan of long batting, and he plays that one down from off his toes down onto just in front of him, and there's no run. I mean, Sibley likes to really dig in, doesn't he? So that's what England wanted when he was called up, because if you remember, Jason Roy was opening the batting in the summer, and he was not giving any solidity, so they wanted someone to bat some time and play some Test cricket, and that's what he's done, Steve.
Yeah, he has, and well done to him. I'm going to take you back into the long distance past.
Oh, it was yours, yes. Nondescript day.
For my, days.
Yeah. Just wait for Sibley to finish this over from Nokia's outside the off stump. Sibley looks for a quick single, and Root is there. So Sibley takes a single, he goes on 75, 184 for 2.
Steve, can I just interject?
Yes, please do.
So that innings that I complained about, I've just looked it up, because I was like, what did he actually make that day, Lara? Lara made 230. He made 213.
Listeners,
and I'm sorry, I'm taking it back. At the time, I was young and stupid, though. I was only 16, and I didn't appreciate that I was watching the world's best batsman make a double set. I knew it had to be a double. So he made 213 and Jimmy made 94, and they batted the whole day. It was day 2 or day 3. They batted the whole day at Sabina. And I was like, what is this? Where's the wickets?
I mean, that is looking at gift horse. Do you look at gift horses in the mouth when you pass one?
But at least I saw Lara make a double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoyed every minute by the sound of it.
Greatest time of my life.
Right, Steve, what was yours?
Well, back in the good old days, in the 70s, when I was but a whippersnapper watching cricket, you used to...
here we go. It's Maharaj to Sibley, no run.
In those days, you usually sat down in front of the TV at 5 to 11, tuned in BBC 2, because that's where you watched your Test cricket. And I used to watch Boycott and Edrich open the batting for England, and every single time it used to be slow.
Maharaj.
But by the end of the day, we'd be at 150 for 1, and we'd have big smiles on our faces. That was great.
Sibley plays this back to the bowler. We're going to check those. We're going to get our wisdoms out and check whether they were as slow as you're suggesting, Steve. Maharaj, and that's pushed out by Sibley. Root wants a single, but Sibley is not interested. Were Boycott and Edrich as slow as people say they were, or was it just the way that they scored their runs?
My memory tells me that it was. I suspect that actually selectively I filed it away as being sort of not interesting, but it was all part and parcel of that learning what cricket was about.
No, John Edrich was particularly unappealing to watch, I have to say. Forward defensive goes Sibley. No disrespect to Surrey or to John Edrich's career, or to Edrich himself, but it was, he was particularly sort of...
But he was out there facing Lillian Thompson.
he was. But whereas with Dennis Amiss, you got shots, didn't you? Without Edrich, you didn't. Maharaj bowls and Sibley, maybe the modern day version of the aforementioned.
Edrich, more, don't know.
Well, no, he's right-handed for a start. No, he's a lot more upright than Edrich.
He's got more exciting shots than Edrich.
Maharaj to Sibley, who's forward defensive. Has he got more exciting shots than Jonathan Trott?
Well, I always thought Trotty was a very good number 3.
There you go.
So Knackle has come with the stats from that game that I've been demeaning. So the game, he said, the game I'm talking about was in March 1999. So I would have been in lower 6th or upper 6th. On day 2, Lara and Adams scored 340 runs in 90 overs at 3.76 an over versus McGrath, Gillespie, Warne, and McGill.
And you were bored.
But Knuckle puts in Mash's defence, Adams scored his 94 off 252 balls with only 8 fours. So it was. I do remember watching it at the time, thinking, and Adams is like a hero of mine. But I remember watching, thinking, this is one old grind here. But I didn't remember the context that it was against McGrath, Gillespie, Warne. Yeah. I wasn't appreciating what I was actually seeing, and that was probably Lara, not at his best, but that's Lara at just being Lara.
I wouldn't mind, but this whole game is taking place at Sabina Park, possibly one of the most exciting places in the world, to watch a Test match. Nokia, and that keeps low, and Root digs it out, stays very low.
Just some tweets, because I'm fairly certain people are going to want to get in on this, but before they do, so Lawrence Jameson said, heard a theory on radio by a person who studies eye positions that said that Marnus Labuschagne's eyes are so close together, it's a huge advantage for hand-eye sports. Federer also has close eyes.
Interesting.
Mike Wood says, I was on work experience in about 2003 when Mark Richardson hit 90 in a whole day for New Zealand against England.
Nokia to Root. This time Sibley responds to Root's request for a single. That's Root keeps it ticking over. He's gone on to 44 imperceptibly.
John Edrich would have dreamt of being 90 not out at the end of the first day.
Well, Mike Wood carries on and said, they never gave the work experience kid anything to do, so I watched the whole innings. I learned a lot about how to leave the ball that day.
Root's on 44, Sibley 75. There's something about John Edrich. I'm with you on that one, Steve. He used to grind it out, didn't he, a bit? And
he didn't give his wicket away.
He didn't give his wicket away. He was a pusher and a nudger.
Yeah, he was very rarely out for in the first half hour or something like that.
Nokia gets some bounce there, but Sibley's reached that stage.
But it didn't stop me coming back to watch the second test and the third test and then the year after to watch the test.
Oh, well, we don't know what other things you had on at the time. Maybe not very much. Studying, yeah. Before you abandoned the game.
O-levels and A-levels.
Right, there you go. It was a good alternate. That was given the quality, given what was available as substitute activity. You probably made the right choice.
Seagrave Saab says, I have two to pick from. I was at the Oval in 2012 for day 3 when South Africa scored 637 for 2. I got to see one wicket and Amla make strides for his 311.
I remember that.
Nokia, and that's driven out by Sibley to mid-wicket. People going up in the slip cord now, not quite sure why.
They got a bit excited there, didn't they?
They did get a bit excited. Calm down, guys.
He then adds, I was at Edgbaston this year, I think he means, to watch day 4 when nothing happened apart from Steve Smith shutting up the Barmies.
Yes, though that was, that would have been the day. If you're going to miss one day, that would have been it, because it was a lot of action all around that, wasn't there? You often get one sort of quiet day in a test match.
Yes,
I tend to pick those days to go along. I've chosen a few of those. England 185 for 2. They lead by 2-3-1. Nokia 2. Oh, and Sibley calls for a sharp single this time. The pace, it's like since Root's been there, things have sped up, and even Sibley has increased his speed now. They lead by 2-3-2, and there's one ball left in this over from Nokia. Ken Barrington, I'm told, I never saw him, but I'm told that he was a bit of a grinder. Obviously Chris Tavare, that we know all about. Craig Brathwaite from West Indies.
Jesus.
Doesn't play many shots. He plays more these days, but when he first came in...
when he first came in, it was block
he
or
couldn't
one.
get it off the square.
Yeah.
And Nokia to finish off, he's very wide of the crease, slants that in, and Root plays nicely, regally to mid-off. There's no run. England 186 for 2.
I mean, of course, there's a wider question about all of this, because ultimately, and if I look at Seagrave Saab's examples, they're both examples where batsmen have basically got a lot of runs in a day, or maybe the better way to say it is to grind out an innings for across a day. And I guess what we're arguing then is it that Test cricket is less interesting when batsmen are just grinding out runs? Do you have to have wickets in a day to have a good day at Test cricket? I think you have to have at least.
I think you want
to have at least 4 or 5 or something.
It's an interesting question, because one of the games that I found quite tedious was a T20 match a couple of years back when Aaron Finch was smashing every ball for 6 or 4. So that, when it's not a even contest between bat and ball, when there are no wickets or when there's just runs and no wickets, it can be less interesting than a good contest between bat and ball. And what we saw in the first 2 sessions today was South Africa not trying to take wickets. That's what it looked like to me. They were just going for containment, and I thought it was too early to shut up shop, in that way. Here's Maharaj round the wicket still to Sibley. And that is played to mid-wicket, and there's no run. At least Maharaj is now bowling, let's say, round the wicket, because that 20-over spell, most of which was delivered over the wicket to Sibley, most of the balls pitched outside the leg stump, most of them played by Sibley's pads. He got his back on that bat on that one. That's forward defensive, and there's no run. Of course, you know that there's the likes of Ben Stokes and Joss Buttler to come. And someone else who I've forgotten, Ollie Pope, of course, the more attractive stroke players. Yes, indeed. So the Barmy Army might be looking for them to come on, but the Barmy Army won't be disappointed with this. It's 2 to Sibley goes on to 78, because England are moving into a very, very strong position. We had some tweets earlier on and some messages on Facebook from our listeners in India who were saying South Africa were in the driving seat, but South Africa to win. But they must have put those thoughts out of their mind now, because it's not completely off the cards. But England with 8 wickets in hand, Maharaj bowls, and Sibley must be thinking about a maiden ton. That would really cement his place in this England setup. Sibley and Burns would then be your openers for the summer to come. Here's Maharaj, and Sibley plays that one out. Doesn't want interested in a run there.
Dr. Matt Burley says there's little chance of the remaining 12 overs happening today. Faf's go slow is boring the crowd into 80s bad karaoke.
Well, I'm glad that that was the phrase, Faf's go slow. That's what it has appeared to. And he doesn't even bother to stay on the pitch. He's off the field at the moment. And that's played back by Sibley for no run. So Maharaj, 25 overs of slow left arm darts. And most of them delivered outside the leg stump. No wicket for 68. England, 188 for 2.
Go on,
match.
After Patricia just says, I think I remember Matthew Elliott and Simon Katic milking Andy Caddick and Peter Martin for 2.5 overs, for 2.5 an over across about 15 hours of cricket.
I've had one from text from a mate of mine. Hi there, Asif. Saying Stuart Broad in Auckland. 6 runs in 137 minutes off the 77 balls. 1-4.
That was
very slow.
What year was that? What was the context of that, I wonder? Was
2013.
Was he
Auckland
propping
Test.
up an end for a recognised batsman at the other end? Was it a Jack Leach type 1 run in many, many overs? That's, we want to know the context.
There you go. We need the
Tell
context.
us more.
Asif, tell us more.
Asif, we'd like to know, was it justified in the context of the game, and what was happening at the other end? Because we had this debate about B.J. Watling in that New Zealand series, and he was taking his time scoring his runs, but it turned out to be a match-winning innings. Slow though it might have been. So and other players were scoring more freely, like Grundom at the other end.
I mean, Stuart Broad would dream of lasting that many
balls. Those were the days. I was going to say, we have a 10 and 11 now. In terms of Broad Anderson, they may not have declined with the ball.
Well, actually, Anderson
but they have
well,
declined with the bat, haven't they?
Yes.
Anderson used to have the record.
Anderson don't think pretended ever, but Broad.
Well, Anderson had the record for the most not outs in a row for a while. So for a while, his defence was very solid, but he seems to have lost that. And obviously, Broadie certainly lost his batting skills. The 176 he scored at the Oval in that suspect Test match against Pakistan, when there was all that news of the world inspired overstepping.
Oh,
God. This is Norja coming round the wicket now to Root, who plays that his favourite shot to Gully, and there is no run. Sorry, Rash.
Just saying that Hement on Cricket Trackers has possibly had a potent premonition, because he says that Sibley's going out. He's going to get out in this over.
Right. Well,
how?
That's interesting.
Can you tell us?
He hasn't said how, but the I'm aware of his premonition all the same.
Okay, that's interesting. Certainly, sometimes when you see certain batsmen come in, you can predict that they're not going to last very long. But Sibley's not on strike at the moment, so unless he's run out at the non-striker's end, you might not have the opportunity to for your premonition to come true. That run from Root is drilled to mid-wicket, so he stays. Joe Root stays at the danger end. Yeah, barring a freak accident or one of those freak run-outs, if Sibley stays at the non-striker's end, he is dramatically reducing his likelihood of getting out in this over.
Well, Hement's just followed up with his joking.
Oh, he was joking.
He's just joking.
Okay.
Good lad. You had me worried there for a moment. I could see his crystal ball glowing.
Knocking around the wicket. Root's not got hold of that properly. He essayed the pull shot. He ends up sort of almost dragging the ball down to short fine leg, but they get a single. And Root's in sight of another half century. He's on 45. That ball delivered at an astonishing 91 mph. Didn't look that quick, did it? Nokia is clearly quicker than he looks, unless that. I'm reading that in kilometres. No, it definitely said mph. So Nokia 91. And
I'm going to play a jingle, an England batting jingle.
Yes.
Efficient batting. He made huge runs, the rumours spread by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley.
Inspired by the Human League. Thank you, Mog, for that Sibley jingle, and thanks, Steve, for playing it.
Because nothing was actually happening on the pitch.
Well, there was people running out with a helmet. Man's gone into short leg. Sibley squats almost as he waits for this. It's extravagant leave down the leg side. It's evaded the gloves of de Kock as well and gone down to the boundary.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He's working up a pace here, but that was just 4 byes. It was dug in, and but it didn't clear Sibley's head by much, but still on the rise as it went through to de Kock. He jumped in the air, and he should have stopped that really, because he's ended up palming it to the boundary.
Over the bar, didn't
and so that was 4 byes rather than 4 wides. There's been 12 byes in this innings, 2 leg byes as well if you're interested. England 193 for 2. Nokia's working up a pace. That's short again, and Sibley plays an attractive shot there. He's placed that very well indeed, and it's gone down to the boundary for 4. Much excitement in the Sibley household as Sibley moves on to 42 now forward. Sibley 82, I beg your pardon.
I'm
82.
going to play another jingle because it seems to have worked on the England batsman.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a picked, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
Actually. Brighton and Hove, actually. So we got a short leg, we got a little just someone just behind square and a mid-on. As this one's drilled into Sibley's leg stump, he digs it out. He remains on 82. The partnership worth 96. And England 197 for 2. Nationals.
Some tweets. Seagrave Saab says the thing with that day at Edgbaston, there was nothing happening. The pitch was flatter than Little Lemonade, and the scoring rate was slow. There was hardly any interest in the crowd by tea time. But then I was in the Hollies stand. I think that's Reece Smith. On day 4 at Edgbaston, Mike Taylor says days 3 and 4 of the Chennai Test 2016-17. India put on 759 for 7. 6 full sessions of relentlessness and the highest total ever scored in an innings against England. The only good thing, Rahul out on 199. But Karun Nair scored 303 not out.
Yeah, one always, thinks back to the sort of excitement of classic test matches and the ebbs and flows, and you sort of block some of these days out, don't you? The ones that have been where Stadium does step in. But England have livened things up in this last hour, and they're on 197 for 2. The lead is building up impressively to 243, and Root is in sight of a half century. He's just paddled that one round the corner. He's going to get a couple here, and it's Rabada who comes around and does the fielding, and Root goes on to 47. England just short of the 200 mark, leading by 245. We haven't seen Rabada bowling for a while, and he's down in the patrolling the outfield.
He's been very underused today.
He has. I thought he and Philander, perhaps could have come back after their first spell. We didn't see them back into the attack, and perhaps Pretorius was on the defensive. This one, Root has really climbed into that. He's pulled it right along the ground, down to mid-wicket. That's his half century.
2 plus 2 is on man.
Joe Root's 46th Test 50.
50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done.
It's come off 81 balls with 7 fours, taken 132 minutes at a strike rate of 63.
Just begun.
So the job has only just begun for Joe Root, the skipper. 46th Test match 50 for him, and he got there in a nice style. He just how would you describe that shot, Stevie? I'm sure you can play
a sweep, a reached sweep
off the sort of off the front,
off the middle of the bat.
Middle of the bat,
he got to it.
It was nicely controlled, and that's played
never
back.
in the air, so it's a good shot.
No, and a rare boundary off Maharaj, whose figures are looking as tidy as they were, and Root giving a wave of his village bat. And
you're intrigued by this village.
I am. And I'm intrigued by the fact you've never heard the term, Steve. It must have been introduced in the last few years after you finished playing at such a young age. The cries of Root around the ground.
England fans leaping up and down with excitement here.
Maharaj, and that's played down by Root. There's no mid-off. It's down to long off for a single. And their lead is now 250 lead. So how many more do England need? Another 100 for you, Mashal?
Another 150.
Oh, you're going for the big 400?
In fact, no, they won't declare unless the lead's
No,
450. What am I doing?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's the world record? 448 or something?
Right.
Have I made that
I
up?
need
48.
to, for some reason 417 staying in my mind, but that
Yeah,
don't
maybe
take my word
maybe I mean
for it.
418. It's
I'm
West
thinking
Indies.
of the West Indies.
West Indies against Australia.
Yeah,
Is it still that? 418?
Now,
I believe so. I don't think anyone's beaten that.
can anyone look through the archives quickly to check that fact?
Nah,
It should
cool, will do it.
obviously be on the tip of our tongue, but do the West Indies still hold the record? I think it was broken. Certainly when
feel
West
it was
Indies against Australia, 417, Ronnie Sarwan, Brian Lara, Vaspert Drakes. John is coming in with that
I feel like that's
information.
been broken now, but
No,
it could be.
Knuckles coming
it's
in. It's still the record. West Indies hold the record for the highest number of runs in the fourth innings.
3-person. We're nearly about to change. I'll quickly run through some tweets. This one is interesting. So, are we changing now? Oh, that's Greg Smith says, as a Port Elizabethan, re 1820 to 2020, which is the bicentennial of English settlers in South Africa, there's some obvious on-field acrimony, which is an odd dilemma. Will Port Elizabeth be seen as a cosy or hostile venue? And why in this 200th year does this fall on Port Elizabeth? It's a very interesting... I don't know how to dissect it.
The only thing I know about Port Elizabeth as a test venue is that there's a very loud brass band there.
Well, yes, indeed. And the lead is 250. 250. The lead is 250. So England are
251.
251 now as a result of that single. England are manoeuvring themselves ever more into a position of some domination here. Joe Root 53, Dominic Sibley 82. He would be getting a nosebleed. He's never scaled heights like this for England, although he frequently has. As all Warwickshire fans, I have no doubt, would tell us.
Was it 4 or 500s in the 2019 County Championship season?
And a double ton from memory. So he's going very nicely. He is facing up now to Analik Norkia, who drops one short outside of his leg stump. And Sibley, well, I don't think he could have reached that, even if he'd wanted to. The run rate, positively sedate 2.76, but that really hasn't been the issue for England. And it's, John, it's like having tried to correct themselves from, go hard at the ball, put pressure on the opponents, attack, transfer one-day cricket to Test cricket mode, then lurching the other way. They seem to, these two, be striking just about the right balance, I think. I'd like to know your thoughts on that, as Norkia is in and Sibley just gets up on his toes to push this down to short leg. And there's no run.
I think this is a rare occasion in recent times, Tony, where England are actually playing the situation. They've realised that they're slightly in front. They realise that the wicket is wearing, and that there's quite a lot of time in the game, so they don't have to be in a hurry, and the longer they stay out there, the more the wicket will wear.
Yeah, no, I undoubtedly think you are right.
And they haven't fallen into South Africa's, the various heffalump traps that South Africa have set with various types of defensive bowling.
Yeah, they've been quite obvious, haven't they? There is a forward short leg, and as if to make the point, this one is dabbed down, but past him. And they're able to take another single, so they're keeping that scoreboard ticking. 206 for 2, the score.
Yeah, Sibley's first Test 50, Root's first 50 of the series, despite the fact he's passed 25 every time.
Yep. The lead 252.
And South Africa are basically bowling for the second new ball.
Which, let me see, how many overs have we had? It won't be far off. How many overs?
5 after this.
5 after this. So there is a chance, was a high chance, in fact, we probably would see that tonight. As Analik Norkia comes in around the wicket, pulled by Root, backward of square leg. Is there a man down there? Yes, there is. It's Dwayne Pretorius.
Rossi van der Dussen.
Oh, is it Van der Dussen, was it?
You said that's Scottish. That's
Rossi van der Dussen.
Rossi van der Dussen.
It could speak. It works in that sort of Scottish accent, doesn't it? Rossi van der Dussen. Well, he's bowled well. He's bowled tidily. As indeed all of South Africa. They bowled tidily, but not necessarily penetratively.
Yeah.
Rabada certainly early on looked dangerous. Obviously, Vernon Philander, as he always does, looks dangerous, if not quick. But for now, the life has gone out, though, both the wicket and the ball. Although Nokia really bends his back there and drops that in short. And again, well, there was no danger to anyone unless the ibis had flown by at a particular height. There certainly was the only thing that would have been damaged by that ball, because it was very short indeed. End of the over.
Decent take by Quinton de Kock again. Norkia's bowled genuinely fast in this innings. Yeah, Vernon Philander, 12 overs, 6 maidens, none for 12.
Yeah, as economic as ever. John, what do we have in the communication department?
Seagrave Saab says, I have 2 days to pick from. I was at the Oval in 2012 for day 3 when South Africa scored 637 for 2. I got to see 1 wicket and Amla making strides towards 311. I was also at Edgbaston in 19 to watch day 4 when nothing happened apart from Steve Smith shutting up the Barmies. Mountain Muppet says, would someone please talk up Sibley and Root because we need a wicket? So I guess that's a South African fan.
I was there for that same innings, I think. Was that when Smith... was Steve Smith? Oh, Steve Smith. No, I was thinking of a different Smith entirely, and I was thinking of South Africa, so I'll take it all back. I was thinking of Smith and Amla together.
At
the Oval, which was at the Oval, yeah.
The Oval test when Amla got his 100.
Was that 2015?
No, it would have been earlier than that, 2012.
Was it really as long ago as that? Oh, my lord.
It was basically, I'll come to that after this ball, because we do have a change. Keshav Maharaj out of the attack after 4 overs, and this man's in.
The Chris Morris lookalike.
Pretorius. Dwayne Pretorius.
Well, he was 3/4 of the way through his run-up. And Joe Root, who seems to be seeing the funny side of it. And I do believe...
The Hardidar.
I do believe...
The Hardidar is back! Again!
NASA flew by, landed and strolled across Joe Root's eye line. And as such, Joe Root pulled away.
That thing's got a hell of a beak on it.
Well, are we talking about NASA or the bird?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Steady.
Joe Root stands ready. So this time Pretorius will be in.
Outside off stump, and is run
endeavouring.
down off the back foot by Joe Root. Well fielded at gully. There is no run.
Thank you, Knuckle. I tried to rescue my phone from a somewhat profane tweet ringtone. Yes, all the South African seamers in this test so far have been quite relentlessly working away at Joe Root's middle and off stump area, haven't they? Nothing, literally nothing down his leg side. In comes Pretorius, and this is, guess where, just outside of his off stump. But Root waits and carves it away down to backward point. There is a man down there. They will take 2. So Root will move on to 56. Of the 88 he's faced, the England lead 255. 209 the score.
These two are complementing each other pretty well, I think. Joe Root tend to score quickly without really trying to.
He takes Root to, as we speak right now, on to 7,450 test runs with the best, of course, of 254. Has been that for a long while. Forward he comes, and the ball rolls its way to cover, and there is no run.
Arthur Patricia says, I think I remember Matthew Elliott and Simon Katic milking Andy Caddick and Peter Martin for 2.5 and over across about 15 hours.
Simon Katic? I don't know if those two played at the same time.
No, that may be a...
Crossing generations?
And possibly, yeah.
Matthew Elliott, I'm thinking sort of mid to late 90s, and Simon Katic,
Peter
mid
Martin,
2000s.
Might have to do some refreshing my memory there. As up onto his toes goes Root. Pushes this away. 2 point. They will take a comparatively easy single.
I suppose he actually could be talking county cricket in the days of 2 overseas players.
Well, possibly.
Yes, I think there is a good possibility there. Let me see. Joe Root, what is this telling us? 7 innings of 150 plus, 8 120 to 149, 2 100 to 119, and only 1 90 to 99. So that basically says he's only been out once in the 90s
or
in his entire career.
It could, in theory, have been not out.
He could.
I will look it up exactly what. Yeah, this is the 63rd time he's passed 50, of which 17 have been hundreds.
Wow.
Not a nervous 90s man.
In comes Pretorius to Sibley. Sibley leans into it, guides it, sort of between point and third man. Van der Dussen, he gets after it, and they will take 2. So 212 for 2 the score, 258 the lead.
It wasn't out. It was 98 that Joe Root scored in the first innings against New Zealand at Lords in 2015. That's the one time that Joe Root has finished a test innings in the 90s.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Pretorius is in again. And Sibley is solidly behind it. Pretorius fields off his own delivery. It concludes the over.
I don't know whether this tweet relates to the previous one, but Seagrave Saab says the thing about that day at Edgbaston was that there was nothing happening. The pitch was flatter than Little Lemonade, and the scoring rate was slow. There was hardly any interest in the crowd by tea time, but then I was in the Hollis stand.
Flatter than Little Lemonade.
Apparently so.
Is Little Lemonade notorious for being...
Well, I guess it must be. I don't know.
Flatter than, say, R. White's, for example.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm a secret lemonade drinker. R. White's.
Mike Taylor says day 3 and 4 of the Chennai test in 2016-17, India put on 759 for 7.
I think you may be going backwards.
Oh, I'm going backwards. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, well, we covered that game, of course. The only triple hundred we've covered on Test triple hundred we've covered on Guerrilla Cricket.
Oh, right. Was it by Joe?
Karen Nair got a triple hundred.
Where am I up to then?
Goodness
That's
me.
the question.
You do go from the top. You're working down. Tweets you'd read from the top, John.
Yes.
Well, the new ones come in at
the top. Yeah,
oh, I
that's
see.
right.
You're trying to find out how
I'm
far
trying
down
to find out how far down where we are, yes.
There's a man in a state of permanent confusion. It's poor John there. He's trying to work out where we stand.
There's nothing unusual there.
Anyway, the lead is 258 for England. South Africa will be girding their loins, however, for the new ball, due now, we think, in 4 overs' time. So they should get a dart with it tonight.
Looks like we've got another change of bowling. This man's swapped ends.
Is this Maharaj on his way back? Yes, it
he's
is.
Back at the end where he bowled 22 overs in a row.
And he bowls a horrible ball outside of the leg stump, which reverse sweeps down to deep square leg, and is able to get 2 more to his name, so he moves on to 59. We'll put that down as a loosener for Maharaj, because it wasn't the greatest ball he's bowled all day.
I think again he's being told to bowl outside Joe Root's leg stump and having reverse sweep out to deep point. They've got a man out there for that to keep it to 1.
And again he does the same thing. Root, though, choosing to use his bat rather more than Denley and Sibley did, who any time pretty much the ball was tossed up outside that leg stump, they just thrust a big old pad forward and hoof it away. The lead 260. Joe Root is studying concentration. Maharaj in, swept, but they do have a man down at long leg. It is the estimable Vernon Philander in his floppy sun hat. So that will restrict them to just a single. 2:15 for 2.
I think people are trying to talk Sibley out. Martin White says Sibley looks like he's going to spoon one of those short round the wicket balls to one of the 3 men waiting.
Well, thank you, Martin.
Let's hope he doesn't.
I think secretly hoping that it's reverse psychology, I suspect, which is trying to talk him out with a view to the fact that therefore that wouldn't get him out.
It's the double bluff.
Who knows? As Maharaj is in, worked off his legs, but worked straight to Malan, who is at mid-wicket, and there's no run. 4 balls gone in this 27th. He's certainly done a day's work. He'll feel it in his feet tonight, will Maharaj. That's an absolutely disgustingly horrible ball down the leg side. De Kock misses it completely, and Philander, with a look of the purest contempt on his face, does at least do the sweeping up and restricts England to just a bye. Even Faf du Plessis looking slightly greying beard, does he have there? Yes, he does. Well, he was able to see the funny side. Swept again by Root. There will be a man down there. There is. And again, it's just a single. So they're working the ones here, are England.
He's played that reverse sweep pretty well today, Joe Root.
He
well
has.
outside leg stump, playing with the spin.
Well, I think that's
sure
the thing.
Keeps it down.
Yeah, well, I think this is the thing. That it has started its life so far outside the leg stump that to a certain extent it's a not a risk-free shot, but comparatively risk-free.
You're not going to get bowled from that line, and you're not going to get LBW. It's
top edging is probably the biggest threat, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to make sure it's full enough for the stroke so you don't get that top edge. But yeah, he's played it pretty well, and that's 5 runs off the over for England with minimum effort.
And we're enjoying a beautiful view of Table Mountain with the brewery looking. I think a lot of people say it's a shame about the brewery. I think it's an absolutely integral part of the scenery at Cape Town. And would you believe it? I believe it was. Well, I shall probably tell you at the end of this ball. It was something like the 17th century that European brewing was first introduced to Cape Town.
Almost as soon as Europeans were introduced.
Well, exactly, very much so. In comes Pretorius, and forward comes Joe Root. There is no run.
All the talk that
1652, a gentleman called Van Riebeck did that. 1995, it actually became a heritage status site, did the brewery. It was, of course, SAB, South African breweries, but it all got swallowed into AB InBev, didn't it? And the great conglomeration of the brewing industry. In comes Pretorius again, and nicely forward comes Root. And it's away into the offside, but there's no run. 125 kilometres an hour, which, if I quickly do the maths in front of me, no, I'm lying, I'm reading something, 77 miles an hour.
Yeah, he bowls a lot of cutters, Dwayne Pretorius, a lot of off cutters, and he bowls that one that he runs his fingers back over the seam to get it to go the other way. His cutter's quite good. It does occasionally stick in the wicket and get a little bit of extra tennis ball bounce. But he's gone over 3 and over today, Dwayne Pretorius. He's not been quite as economical as he was at Centurion.
Pretorius is in, worked away the man, the On Hayden. Who is that? Is that
Peter
Eldar?
Malan?
Oh, it's Peter Malan. Dives to his right, but can't get it. But he is being backed up by a mid-off. And so actually they've got the off Hayden, the on Hayden, but also a mid-on
and a mid-wicket. A little bit closer than a regular mid-wicket. They
are desperately trying to encourage England to sort of spoon catches up to that onside field. It hasn't worked hitherto. As Pretorius is in. Oh, edge taken, gone! What a bonus wicket that is for South Africa. Joe Root has gone straight into the bucket-like hands of Faf du Plessis. England have lost their 3rd wicket with the new ball due in just a couple of overs. Joe Root looks distraught. Well, that will keep South Africa interested and very much in the game. He just edged forward. Du Plessis, great big bucket-like paws, wasn't going to let that drop. And, well, what a wicket at just the right moment for South Africa.
Decent bit of bowling from Dwayne Pretorius. He'd been bowling very straight at Joe Root, then he just hung that a little bit outside off stump. It moved away just a little bit, drew him into the stroke, and a catch made to look easier than it was, I think, from Faf du Plessis. Joe Root gone for 61 of 98 with 7 fours. England 217 for 3, lead by 263.
Will England play a night watchman?
Why would you at this stage?
I don't think so. I think I would bring in Ben Stokes as per the scorecard. But what a test of character now for both Stokes and Sibley. Because they've lost a wicket at the worst possible time just before the new ball is due.
I mean, obviously, it's cushioned by the fact they lead by 263, still with 7 wickets.
That does help, but, we all know a collapse is never far away for England. And I think they would consider it a huge disappointment if all of a sudden they're 310, just a lead of 310,
and it is
say, for example. And it is a night watchman, and I am surprised, and I think that's a man, remember, on a pair. So no pressure, Don Bess.
That's a bit negative from England.
From the county seat where it Vices rave. It's Dominic Bess, selected for the Euro test.
2 years ago.
The latest in a long line of sinners who turned out to be rejects.
Hopefully not from England's point of view.
Well, we're seeing a close-up on Chris Silverwood. I would love to have been a fly on the wall of that England dressing room.
Stokes was padded up. Presumably that wasn't Stokes' decision.
I'm guessing not. He seemed to be quite angrily. He does many things angrily, so it's our job to say it's an unusual situation, but quite
massively
angrily.
negative decision.
I'm with you, John. I'm surprised,
massively negative.
a little disappointed.
I don't really see the upside of sending in a night watchman
Dreadful.
at this stage.
Well, send in a night watchman who's also on a pair.
And if he gets out, then what do you do?
And then he'll have to face the new ball.
And then Stokes will have to get padded up again.
Put extra pressure on Sibley, who now presumably will have to do a little bit of strike farming.
In fact, he's on a king pair, Dom Bess.
Well,
yes, he is.
Absolutely.
Having not played a test for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think it's dreadful, but it is weird.
It's very strange.
Well, the proof will be very much in the pudding. There's now 3 slips in place, and he has at least avoided that king pair by tucking in behind it, pushing it away into the offside. And although there's no run, Joe Root, it just perhaps got that tiny little bit of extra lift. Pretorius' delivery there, pitched
I was
pretty much on off stump.
And a little bit of
nibble away, yeah.
I was going to say that, Tony, because the other thing about that is we've seen 3 or 4 balls from that end today which have kept low, and I think maybe Root was playing for the slightly low bounce, and then you end up with something that grows on you a little bit.
Bonus runs there for England as a drop short, and Bess didn't lay a bat on it, but it evaded Quinton de Kock. So they will accrue 1 by, was it? I'll have a look and see. It pitched, yes, but actually it was just a conventional leave, and it beat de Kock and first slip. De Kock, of course, is standing up to Pretorius.
I mean, that took off. That would have been a very good take, and it also flew over first slip.
Well, it did indeed, and so it's 1 by.
We're also seeing that the ball did move a little bit from Dwayne Pretorius.
Yep.
Just a little bit, sort of half a bat's width, and that's all it took, and it went pretty quickly to Faf du Plessis. All the slips have been standing fairly close to the bat, and Faf, as you say, big hands, and went with the ball to make sure that it didn't spill out or hit off those hard hands. Yeah, it's a reasonable, good, decent bit of old ball bowling from Dwayne Pretorius, I think.
I mean, can we think, is there any logic at all in not taking the new ball and keeping powder dry? Or...
With a night watchman, I don't think
so.
so.
No, I think you've got to take it now.
But the old ball there was movement with the old ball. But yeah, I suppose if you've got the night... Well, that's my only potential thought. Do you keep the new ball until you've got rid of the night watchman?
No, I think
you give both barrels in the morning.
You get 2 bites with the new ball if you take it now. Just let KG let KG loose and let Vern do Vern.
Well, I think if you're South Africa, you feel that England have taken a backward step in sending Bess in the first place, and you think to yourself, well, if we get him out, they've then got to pad up a batsman or send in another night watchman. If they send in the latter, we could get another one out, and all of a sudden you've got 5 out.
You almost never see 2 night watchmen. Also, you're not sending in Broad or Anderson as a night watchman.
Bash is saying his fond farewells. David, could you... I have a... can you send me Will's email, please?
We're just doing a little bit of off-air production.
That's all right. David is giving us the thumbs up. And we have Another Knorkia, who immediately attacks the off-stump of Bess. Bess played it very nicely, very tidily indeed.
If your number 1 project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got your number 1 guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Henrik Norke.
We like that jingle. Although we're still debating whether it's Norke or Norkia.
Norkia, I think.
I think we're settling in on Norkia, aren't we? In he comes anyway, and Bess ducks out the way of a short pitch delivery. And although they have a forward short leg and I think a man down at sort of short fine leg, neither will have been called upon into action there because that ball was too short, and there's nowhere in the world Bess would have been able to reach it, even if he had thought he might wanted to have a go at attacking it. And I don't think he's been sent in to try and flail at anything, as he's been sent in to stay there.
To play doggo, as they used to say.
That's pretty much it. In comes Norkia. And very, very tidy indeed by Bess. Pushed away to mid-off. No run. 218 for 3. Crucial, that 3. Joe Root will be so disappointed, won't he? Got himself into the 60s.
Well, again, that's another 50 that he hasn't converted. So
yeah,
that's his irritation, I think, because people are always talking about his conversion rate, aren't they? And
they are.
Certainly in relation to Smith, Coley, and Smith and Coley are particularly Coley, I think, actually has more hundreds than 50s, and Williamson.
224 Sibley's ball, 222 ball Sibley has faced. But he's not facing now because Dom Bess is. He's facing Anrik Norkia. Well judged leave.
We're well behind on tweets, Tony, at this point.
Okay.
Someone responding to our Human League jingle says, here's a fun Human League fact. They took their name from a now obscure series of American science fiction war games designed by Redmond Simonson. So there you go.
Well, now that is a niche but nonetheless interesting piece of knowledge.
David Bitterner says, listening in Bangkok, maybe a couple of cheeky singers or two under the belt. Enjoying the coverage, thanks boys.
The old Singer beer, very nice.
And Jason Hiscock said, where he was responding to the Telegraph putting out the news that Rory Burns is likely to need surgery on his ankle, and therefore Jennings is in line for a recall for Sri Lanka.
Double Lord.
I'd heard that.
In comes Norkia around the wicket. Short and almost sort of body line in intent to try and intimidate Dom Bess, but Dom Bess has made a sterner stuff than that.
Well, they've got they had a short leg in and the silly mid off. I mean, they had been, just on the Jennings thing, they had been taught that might have happened anyway as sort of horses for courses.
Well, and he made previous runs there.
He's done very well in Sri Lanka and in India beforehand, and Sibley, that might have changed now because Sibley's looked better and better against the spinners, but Sibley has looked a bit clueless against the spinners.
In comes Norkia. Oh, and that one has taken an edge. I think he has. Well, Paul Rifle doesn't think so. Anrik Norkia doesn't think so. Quentin de Kock seemed to think so.
Quentin de Kock's the only one that does think so, I think.
Faf du Plessis, well, they have reviewed it. And this rather surprises me because would you waste a review on a night watchman unless you were absolutely sure you had nailed your man?
I mean, they haven't used one yet, so I guess they've got another one, but it does seem a little bit desperate. Generally, if the bowler doesn't appeal...
That was definitely out. Was that definitely out?
They're looking for a bit of glove. I think that's missed everything.
I think that has missed everything. And if that is the case...
He has looked behind him, which is sometimes a bit of a betrayal that it's hit something.
If it did get any... Well, no, Norkia did appeal.
He did, yeah.
But was the appeal led by de Kock?
No,
I thought that hit, if that hit anything, maybe sort of
side
sleeve
or,
under armpit.
Well, we're looking now.
Oh no, glove!
It is out.
Get some glove.
Well done, Quinton de Kock. In that case,
and South Africa have their man. A lot of clapping, and Paul Rifle is giving it the that crossing of his chest.
That makes all the more nonsense of England sending in Bess to get a pair.
Bess has his pair
because now they've got to pad up a batsman anyway.
Look, I mean. Yes, a little bit of after timing, but yes.
But utter nonsense. I mean, I'm not changing my mind after the fact. I'm basically saying,
although
I think
it's a mess.
Having got to stumps, it's maybe less stupid.
Well,
I agree with you. We were confused about the decision at the time. Anyway, we should jingle up the dismissal of Dominic Bess. Eight ball duck to go with his one ball duck in the first innings.
So it's a pair for Bess. Rather disconsolate expressions in the English dressing room. Dom Sibley is still there. The lead, after all, is 264, and I think, goodness me, yesterday night, any lead of 250 and upwards, we'd have thought England were in decent shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what they will not want to do is to somehow throw this away.
Look, 264 will be a tricky target even if England weren't to get any more runs from here in the fourth innings.
They'll want 350 plus.
Oh, of course, you want as many as you can possibly get. I think England should be looking at a lead of 300 plus easily not easily, but should be looking at a lead of 300 plus. They've still got Stokes, still got Pope, still got Butler, still got Sam Curran. So there's plenty of runs potentially to go. And Dom Sibley's on 85. He'll have to restart again tomorrow morning. We should just say what the GPL was, shouldn't we? South Africa added 7 runs this morning. So 218 plus 7. 225 runs were scored in the day's play, and Arthurshire missed out by 1.
Oh dear.
Oh.
No. So a rollover?
A rollover.
Rollover.
So the pot will start tomorrow at 50 quid.
Let's very quickly give you the story of the day. South Africa had 2 wickets to fall when they came in this morning. Those didn't last very long at all. Rabada and Nortje suitably cleaned up by Jimmy Anderson, who ended up with a 5 for. So he ended up with 5 for 40. Stuart Broad 2 for 38. Curran 2 for 39. 1 for 62 for the recent pair maker Dom Bess. No wickets for 34 for Ben Stokes, and just 3 overs from Joe Root, none for 4. So that left England to come in for their second innings. They had a lead of 46 to build on. Zach Crawley looked pretty solid, but then just chased one wide of his off stump to Rabada and snaffled behind the stumps by Quintin de Kock. Dom Sibley has been the star act. Not spectacular, but solid, continuing as ever to work the ball away to that leg side. So I've just lost my scorecard. He's on 85, not out from 222 balls. Joe Denley, he also looked solid before being caught by Pretorius off the bowling of Analik Nortje. Joe Root failed to convert. Disappointed, he looked utterly distraught. He was caught in at first slip by Faf du Plessis off Pretorius, and then England, with just 3 to 4 overs left of the day, decided that a night watchman was the right solution, and it merely bagged a pair for Dom Bess, who faced 8 balls. At least it wasn't a king pair. He was caught behind off Analik Nortje down the leg side. We all didn't see it initially. De Kock was utterly convinced. He persuaded Faf. The review duly backed up wicketkeeper, and that concluded the day's proceedings. South Africa bowling 1 for 41 for Rabada, none for 12 from Vernon Philander, but that was off 12 overs, so he went for literally just 1 and over. Analik Nortje 2 for 36, Dwayne Pretorius 1 for 34, and the workhorse of the day was Keisha Maharaj, who didn't take a wicket and went for 79, but off 27 overs.
22 of those in a row.
22 of those, as you rightly say, in a row. So England are still in the box seat. They need to be careful that they don't minimise that advantage by collapsoing. There is 2 full days left in the game in this wonderful 5-day sport that Test cricket is, and the way we would like it to stay. We will, of course, be on air from 10 minutes before the very first ball of the morning.
Yeah, 8:20 a.m.
to see you then.
UK time, 10:20 a.m. South African time, just according to your time zone. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's been in today. Thank you to Tony. Thank you to John Batham. Thank you to David Brooke. Thank you to Steve Jones. Thank you to Katie Scott. Thank you to Mashals and Patrick Hewitt. And until tomorrow, goodbye.
Good night.
Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the cover boundary. At last the time has come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara sang the